hear everyone. Ali, you can lean in. You can lean in. Right. So there we go. So how do we link to the stream? Tom, can you talk? See if it.
Yeah, I'm just going to chat and I'm going to talk about what's coming up.
That's picking up. That's picking up. That's great.
Up.
Okay. So what's that? That is pop out dashboard. We don't want that. We want share. There we go. Share and share alike. Okay. So that's going to go on Discord. And someone new has joined the Discord.
Well, perfect time.
Welcome.
Come and see how it all ends.
Okay. At everyone. Right. Change of plan.
I think I already did write all of my
YouTube now.
These two as just names.
Yeah, you did.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I was like, God, Tom's gone through and edited it all quite.
So I'm doing it to mine.
I actually think you've got the perfect amount in these next two scenes because you've got a narrator, Adri, Theo, and Samantha.
Well, did I maybe plan for that exactly, Ali? Maybe.
Oh, sorry, there is a Medicham line. Sorry, you fucked it.
Well, go fuck yourself.
I do love that the thumbnail for the video is just my headshot.
Oh, you couldn't write it.
So good. Always selling. Always. Your spotlight link there.
Always on the grind.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Oh dear. Right.
That's so good.
How do I get onto the old? Can I do? Oh no. Oh no. I don't know if I can. Well, hang on. Let me just. If I can.
Is it linked on?
No. If I go on Discord on my phone, no. Do you know what? Let's type it out. No, if I put it in the WhatsApp, I'm going to put it in the WhatsApp for CritDit, and then everyone has the link, and then I can just get it from there. Okay. Okay, so that's going in there. There we go. I can grab that. So then we can put it on Instagram.
I need to think of the cast list for my next scene because there's a lot of characters to get in.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same.
Okay, it's down here. I screwed up in the last one. Now I should have the link to our new live. Does the CritDit Twitter still exist?
Surely it does.
I feel like
I got rid of it.
I know, but I can't access it.
Been shadow banned.
I don't know.
God, you've been shadow banned.
Critical.
Now is the time. Imagine guns coming in. Nintendo Hit Squad, like we now.
Oh yeah, no, I got it. It logged me out for some reason.
We've been tracking you,
and now you're all in the same room.
Our last tweet was the little, the video we did on the day of my wedding.
Oh, what a great day!
That was a good video, though.
It was a good video. It set us up for the day, set me up for the day very nicely.
That was a great day. Right.
It was a great day. Dave was in a dressing gown.
Classic.
Okay, I've now posted that. So it should all be out there. Okay. If you make it, they will come. People have arrived. We have got people on the stream.
Gosh, we have some, and you can actually read.
And I can actually read the comments now, so this makes a lot more sense.
Do you want to press record on the Audacity?
I will now press record on.
And I'm going to press record
Audacity.
No.
Wait.
Ooh, what's happened here?
Oh, it's sorry. Stop! Stop!
Everyone, stop! Wait!
Stop.
What's happened?
It's started again.
It's added 24 tracks. It's started. It's not overwritten anything. It's just added.
Started from the beginning.
It's
Why
added
don't you save that?
Save that.
I'm going to save that as part one and just
close it.
Yeah, close
That'll
it down.
be easier anyway from the editing perspective, and it'll feel a lot less intimidating than looking at 3.5 hours of audio.
Yeah.
A Lord of the Ring.
Okay. So that's...
Actually, if there are 3 parts to it, then I guess we just give all 3 to David and he does it.
Yeah. Finally,
did someone just fart on the stream?
I really enjoyed Ali's joke.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, right. I'm just going to listen back to that and make sure that.
Well, yeah, if it's added all those tracks, then it will just be
Yeah, no, it's fine.
You can just
Playback
delete them.
device. Okay. Just make sure we've got that at the start.
Recording on here. Record on there as well. Well, I saw
Yeah, that's us, isn't it? It's not some other people
Imagine
podcasting.
just booted it up and it was just Britney Spears.
Okay, so save that project as part 1. So that is going to be part 1. Crit dit epilogue.
What would you do if Sophie hadn't gone for one? She'd actually gone to do the partners record separately.
Oh, that would be so
my
good.
God.
And they were live streaming at the same
Like,
time. And they'd sworn them to secrecy. Oh, that would be
Okay,
great.
so we're now going to open new Audacity.
The old 1-2
I'd eat her
punch.
bueno. That's what I'd do.
Listen,
You
next
wouldn't.
time get up to
You
express
wouldn't.
it.
Every time.
I don't mind your homosexuality. I don't mind your heterosexuality. Just don't rub my face in it.
Okay, I'm now recording. Here we go. Part 2 is now recording.
Do you want to do a little test? So
Yeah,
just double check.
all looks good. So, Tom, could you just.
Yeah, I'm talking in my tone. This is me.
David.
Hello, this is David Leavesley. Talking.
Ooh.
Ali.
Yo, it's me. Yay.
Yo,
It's your boy. I'm here. In 1994.
We forget that when Ali's actually live Ali is a different guy.
Oh,
He
yeah.
becomes Ali G.
He becomes Ali G.
From Welgy. Okay.
Well, speaking of Well G.
Well, you did epilogue for that.
Okay, so that's all recording. That's great. Are you recording on there, Tom?
Yeah. I am indeed.
Okay. Can everyone hear? Can everyone in the chat hear everyone?
Can everyone in the chat hear this?
Theoretically, yes. So we've got 14 people in the chat.
Whoa. Everyone. I thought I'd come off this side and instead of came.
Yeah, they're saying yes, everyone can hear. So we're doing it.
Yeah,
We're
we're live.
learning.
We're here.
I can't hear or see, so I'm just pushing buttons randomly. I can't remember what happened.
That was applause. Oh, that's yes. We'll have luck music. Let that play.
Let that play.
It's a luck point. Yeah, baby.
Everyone rave to the luck point music.
It's so weird when you come. This is slightly distant. Or the opposite way around when no one hears anything.
Luck point expended.
That's the done.
It's done. That's the cue.
Okay. Right. A lot of pressure on me being the sole face of the operation now.
Do you just want to go
It always
and check you're not got anything between the
Hmm.
teeth?
La 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 la. La. It's very coke stained. Cheers,
No,
everyone.
that kind of coke.
Hey, don't give me that look. Don't give me that
Our
look.
faces aren't on the stream, so
Stallone Waldorf over here.
Okay. Right, I'm going to say bye-bye to looking at the stream, and we're going to go over to our document because we are going to the mid-future.
Yes, this is the second the second bunch of scenes that we've done. We've got I say 5. It's more like 4, but one of them's kind of 2 and 2 for the price of 1. Oh no, I'm in the stream.
Yeah,
Hi
you're on the
everyone.
stream.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's like Catching Fire Part 1 and 2, isn't it?
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect analogy. And the first one that happens is entitled, and I certainly know if someone's listening, they're going to be very excited. Adri.
It's the Adri
It's the
epilogue.
Adri epilogue.
Adri epilogue.
Okay,
Which,
what page are we on?
Page 26. Page 26.
Let me give you your castings
Oh,
for this
great.
and for the one
Yeah,
after.
do we need
I made
any
it.
context to this or
So Adri is this character in this podcast called Christmas episode.
Very good, very good.
How long have we saying this? Because this is we're in a new time.
We're doing a time jump.
This
Yeah.
is a time jump? Yeah.
What time are we in now?
We were saying 4 to 5 years.
we think
from the
yeah.
end. Yeah.
That sounds good. That sounds so.
Yeah.
All of the ones you're about to hear are happening somewhere a few years after what's happened. So the last
And we
one was a
start.
few
The
weeks.
world is on fire.
Casting wise, you lovely people, and this will be the same basically for the second part, aka Theo's epilogue.
Mhm.
Stu, can I give you Adri?
Of course, I'd be honoured.
I will take Theo. Ali, if I can give you Samantha and any other characters that appear
Right.
in part 2. And Tom, if I can give you narrator. And
Oh, you're getting
Medicam.
narrator.
Oh,
Tom's
great.
narrator.
I'll take narrator and then Ghost of Adri and then Heaven Adri and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
Final
yeah.
Death Adri as well.
Who's
I'll
taking
do-
the part?
Biblically
Who's
accurate Adri.
who's taking the part of Adri's murderer?
I think it should be me as the
Cold,
name
Ali.
Tom. As the name Tom.
Okay. Okay. Right.
Okay.
I feel like I need to sit. Have we got extra
Okay.
cushions?
Yeah, I know the sofa's very comfortable, but also
just
it's
gonna
like if you
grab-
relax.
Guys, the sofa's so comfortable, but do you have any other cushions?
I feel like I'm in like Berkoff's Theatre of Cruelty, where it's
Yeah.
like just sat in the most straight back chair in the world.
you.
Wow, okay, wow. Going for the chairs and the sofa. I just realised.
But you guys don't know how hard we've got it on the comfy sofa.
Yeah, jeez. Jeez.
Oh,
last
the grass
time I
is always
heard.
greener, ain't
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, that's great.
Did
That's,
Samantha-
actually
did
really
that's
Samantha-
what I need for Adri. See, I
That's
just
what
need
I
that.
just wanna
I need that
clarify.
posture.
Did Samantha have a character voice?
I think
I
it was
don't
just
think she did,
default
did
Stuart
Generic
Clark
girl.
female voice, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, all three of these characters have the same voice. Good. Okay. Good.
Good. Yes, but Ali equals Samantha.
I'll match it
Yeah.
up by giving them the narrator controls. I'm narrating.
No, this is just we're stripping back. This is just pure.
Yeah.
Naturally
Think
so.
about
Exactly.
think about an
This is-
expert trombone player, Ali, and what their lips might do.
Okay. Samantha's here.
Tom, be ready to the button. That's Samantha.
Is that
That is
trombone?
Yeah.
Grease
Okay.
trombone.
She's become one of the adults from Peanuts, where she just talks to a trombone.
Okay.
Okay, this
All
one
right.
is called Adri. In the years that followed Darkrai, Adri and Theo had become uniquely bad at leaving the Conclave with anything close to an impulse. It therefore came as a surprise to Adri Formonsk when they awoke one morning to find Theo already preparing their travelling outfits.
Morning.
Barely.
Going somewhere?
Yes, we are.
Even for Theo, this was oddly opaque.
Business or pleasure?
Is there a secret third option?
Just telling me, I believe, is the secret third option.
No, I think this is much more interesting. Come on.
It was not much more interesting. They descended through the halls in surprising quiet, which Adri came to realize was because Medicham had cleared a path for them. The three of them packed into the back of the church carriage, and with a gentle word, Medicham persuaded the Galarian Rapidash to make haste for the coast. It took a while for Adri to begin to get a sense of where they were going. It was only when the Surfloat Tower, like a broken femur against the sky, emerged that they got a sense. That they began to get a sense.
Oh, do you want to take that again, Tom?
You think that was a terrible one?
The best narrator. Come on, mate. Yeah, here, teeth back in the tip of the tongue and the teeth in the lips.
Here we
I
go.
am going to move
Take another pass,
to
man.
in front of the
Another
bus.
pass.
Okay. Right, yeah.
I'll do what I can to help it.
Look at us sitting on the sofa getting drunk off Coke Zero.
Welcome to part 2. It's crazy.
I almost was just like, just grabbing at his hand like, he can do this. He can do this. Come on.
You got this, baby.
Go on, Tommy.
Here we go. It was only... Aha. See, this is why we don't do things live. Okay. It was only when the Surfloat Tower emerged like a broken femur against the sky that they began to get a sense.
The tower.
Not yet.
Adri gazed out of the window at the spindly lines of scaffolding, visible like hairline fractures. Sorry.
Right?
I just got the giggles, guys. I just got the giggles. Here we go. Adri gazed out of the window at the spindly lines of scaffolding, visible like hairline fractures in the sky about the structure. It looked so far from complete, and yet it felt odd to think that it might ever look the same again, like nothing had ever happened. But Theo had always made it clear. Whatever the new tower was, it would not be what had been there before.
Kintsugi.
Is that a Pokemon?
It's a technique from Johto. Have you ever seen how a sinister child's body reseals, unlike a poltergeist? The cracks are fixed with different substances in Pokemon than from the art it borrows from, but Kintsugi itself is repairing broken ceramics with liquid gold.
Seems like a waste of gold to me.
You would say that, wouldn't you?
And before Adri could scoff, Theo took their hand and squeezed it. The final destination was a place Adri had never seen before. A few towns over from Surfloat, past Route Duo Forest, in the opposite direction from Combe Over Town. It was so small as to almost seem like it didn't deserve a name. This was where the carriage stopped, and where, to Adri's amazement, Mrs. S was waiting for them in the twilight.
Your owniness?
Samantha?
They smiled at each other in that way that, though Adri had long since stopped inexplicably hating Samantha for no reason, still made them hate Samantha for no reason.
Welcome home.
Home?
Theo did not meet Adri's accusatory gaze. Instead, they smiled down a road that led into the overhang of the forest, dark and hard to read.
Yes. This is where I was born.
It was as if, until this point, Adri had not thought of Theo being born anywhere at all. They had known each other for so long that the idea Theo could have lived a life before the only one they knew together at Surfloat Tower had become increasingly impossible to imagine. But it made sense. They knew that Theo and Samantha had grown up here before they both qualified to study in Surfloat. They knew that Theo had a family who never understood them, who wanted them to be strong rather than smart, or smart rather than strong, and Adri couldn't tell if they couldn't remember which, or if their messaging had been that unclear to them as a child. Sorry, or if their messaging had been that unclear to their child. In fact, to think of Theo at all as anything but fully actualized now felt quite hard to do. Theo had returned from the Sephiroth tree as truculent, curious, and flirtatious as ever before, but there had been something different, a sense of having seen through something and having found peace. A sense of having been through something and having found peace. Adri loved it and envied it in equal measure because they were sure it was the King's Rock's doing. Theo didn't speak much of what they saw there, but Adri was convinced that Theo had, somehow, become the possessor of the relic they had sought their entire lives. To think of this grand religious leader, even one Adri had seen on the toilet while they brushed their teeth, as a child playing trombone and unsure who they were.
Why now?
Adri noticed Samantha looking away from them, both before they noticed the tear fall down Theo's face. Adri looked to Medicham, the only litmus test for whether Theo was keeping Adri in the dark or everyone. Medicham, too, looked amazed.
Because my father passed away yesterday.
What about your mother?
My father was the last of my family left, so I've come to sort out their effects. And I wanted you here with me, if you're able to help me.
Of course, of course.
Theo and Medicham walked in front of Samantha and Adri down the darkening forest road. They were not speaking, but Adri could tell they were communing. It was rather like watching someone with their twin or an ex-partner.
You really must stop looking so pathetic.
Pathetic?
Yes, pathetic. You look at Medicham like they're about to steal your spouse away. Imagine if Theo looked at Ellie the way you do at those two.
Yeah, well, that's different.
Because Ellie has 4 legs? Listen here.
And at this, Samantha pulled Adri nearer into the trees. Theo and Medicham did not seem to notice.
I've defended you to all those in the church who still see you as a shill for Frey for years. I've pointed out how diligently you've served the council, changed how the church considers sin and crisis of faith, made us more compassionate for the cerebral and wayward. But sometimes, I look at the way you look at Theo, and I see what people still see in you.
And what's that?
The potential for something. You have something. Jealousy is a very dark emotion, Adri. It's your darkest emotion. It has made you make every choice you've ever made, just as loneliness drove me. You wish to possess the people you love, and you can't. Love is only possible without walls.
Says the person who runs a walled church.
Samantha shot them a look and pulled them back onto the path. They did little work that evening. The house was messy and full of detritus of decades of a half-dozen people living on top of one another. None of them knew where to start, so instead, they drank fermented hyper potion and made pleasantries. Samantha had made sure beds were prepared and food was in, which Adri and Medicham prepared together. Adri wondered, as they often did, how Medicham seemed so themselves, so complete, more so than Adri often felt. The next morning, the sorting began. Kabutops got to work on the gardening, while Levany, Barbaracle, Geodude and Medicham began to sort through everything onto sleds, which Ellie was tasked with pulling into town. The labour had become so grueling and the day so warm and sunny that Medicham even removed their robes in a rare act of recognising their Pokemonness, hanging them over a chair in the lounge. The actual start of sorting was left to Theo. The actual act of sorting was left to Theo. The actual act of sorting was left to Theo and Adri, while Samantha made themselves busy with errands. They barely spoke, though Theo rarely did with those they truly cared for nowadays. Until Theo came upon a picture and gasped. Adri looked. It was a picture of them, or it was a picture of them all at the King's Mock, or at least the public-facing version of that looked much like how they'd been told to think of it. There they were with Electrike and Meditite, sat next to each other by Kanan. Theo said nothing, but began to cry. It was not Adri's innate response to this kind of thing, but after years of figuring it out a bit, they pulled them into an embrace. Theo clasped them tight, the tears pouring down their face as Adri too began to cry. It was so real, so explicable. Why they were so moved by this, and yet so many things were being felt at once, they couldn't begin to describe it. All those twists and turns, parallel dimensions full of secrets and memories, feats of deception and discovery that had marked their time as adventurers. All the unprocessed trauma, all the duty, all the ways they had never been allowed to live normal lives, the darkness in their hearts they'd had to temper alone, pouring out of them. After a few minutes, Theo pulled themselves away.
I hope they knew. I hope they knew that I was everything they wanted me to be.
It was in that moment, perhaps for the first time, that Adri realized they were not the only one who had been broken into pieces by a neglectful family.
And more.
I hope their lives were good. I wish I just felt like to come back here would be to lose everything I'd become. It would be admitting defeat against a world I'd won against.
Believe me, Theo. Reconnecting with family isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Theo laughed and excused themselves. Adri took in the living room in silence, trying to picture a young Theo in here. Picturing Theo not being able to read felt particularly hard. And then they spotted something in Medicham's robes. Noticing no one was around, Adri pulled one out. Dozens of handwritten letters addressed to the O of the Church of Slowking. And the handwriting on them now was very familiar to Adri indeed. For they had seen it all over the house. Theo's father's.
Medi?
Adri started and jammed the letters back into Medicham's robes. There, in the door, was Medicham, their eyes wide with horror. Adri didn't need a neural link of a fragment of the meteorite to understand Medicham. They had not known if Theo wanted to hear from them again, and so had removed the choice. And maybe today they had wanted to see if Theo was ready to learn more. Had brought these letters back to their source to see if they could plant them about the place and to see if they could plant them about the place and suggest that they had been unsent. Though Theo knew the postal markings of the conclave too well for that. And Adri remembered that, in some ways, they were Medicham's parents too.
Right, sorry about that. Having emotions isn't all Kenny promised it would. Medicham, what's wrong?
Theo was staring at the two guilty-looking parties with a look of terror. Finally, their gaze settled on Adri.
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Theo nodded and went about cleaning again, as Adri handed Medicham their robes.
Medi.
Adri leaned in close to the Pokemon as they redressed, and spoke so quietly that Medicham would only just catch it.
Who am I to judge how we choose to protect the ones we love?
And with that, they continued cleaning.
Ooh, there we go.
There it is.
Part one, done.
Part one.
Part one.
And now the epilogue to the epilogue.
Yes.
Part two of
The
the Theo
epilogue to the
scene.
epilogue.
Okay. Okay. How does this one work? Is it the same characters?
Same characters, same casting. Yeah.
There is another character in this.
Yes, and if you can take that one as well.
Oh, of course, multi-rolling.
Multi-rolling.
Happily.
Hey, we're just going to go straight in.
I think we roll in.
I think
This
we
is-
roll straight
this
in.
is Theo.
Roll.
This picks up almost where we left off.
Yeah.
And now, Theo. Days passed for Theo in their old family home. And the saddest part was that, as much as they ploughed through memories and evidence of a life lived in this tiny house in the woods, almost nothing took Theo back to those years the way that King's mock photo had taken them back through the recent years. For a brief moment, Theo wondered if something about the enlightenment of the King's Rock had detached them from the world they had once known. And yet they could still feel grief, still feel for Kenny and Brandy and Adri and Medicham. They had not lost their connection to the world since leaving home. In fact, it was these memories that felt most punchy, even if they were often the blurriest. But as powerfully as Theo felt for those years in Surfload, it felt odd that those years as a student and professor, which had felt like the apotheosis of what their entire life now felt like little more than a footnote to the person they had now become. How odd it was to feel so divorced from all the versions of themselves before they'd helped a girl find their ex-boyfriend's beach party. How wondrous and yet how sad growth is. To constantly be shedding the dermis of the old you and having to find everything in what you now were. Theo had expected coming home to be an exorcism, a reunion, a polymerization of all the Theos that had come before with this newest one. Instead, it felt like an archaeological dig through a civilization their ancestor had lived in. But they now knew there were rifts to mend, but they were not to be found in a home they'd barely lived in, which is why they made a change to the itinerary of their trip. On their last night in the house, now almost entirely emptied, as they ate at a dinner Samantha had prepared, Theo said,
I think we should stop by Surfloat Tower on our way back.
Samantha and the Pokemon at large considered this while eating, seeing this as an interesting trifle to be considered between bites. Adri and Medicham, meanwhile, looked equally stunned.
I thought you said not until it was rebuilt.
Medicham.
Well, you know what they say. Always be asking questions. Maybe it's worth seeing how it's going.
They all knew there was no point in arguing with them, and so the next day, with the house emptied, they piled back into the carriage and set off. The journey was short, and so, by midday, they had arrived in Surfload. Samantha had called ahead to make it clear Theo had expected no fanfare or welcome committee, which everybody knew meant they did expect some ceremony, but no pomp. And so they arrived to find that Ainsley and Ableforth had paused overseeing the project to make the courtyard look nice and prepare a band of acolytes to perform a little something on a band largely composed of trombones. Theo found being back a bit like an open casket funeral. Cathartic, but ultimately a little too close to home. But could see that Adri found the building terrifying to be near. Like returning to the scene of a crime. The last place they truly called home before they became, well, whatever they'd gone on to become.
Mrs. S, could I ask you to work with Ainsley and Ableforth here to put together a report for the council on progress?
Samantha did not let their surprise show, for a compass point should never show anything but alignment with the journey, but Theo could sense it.
Of course, Your Holiness.
Adri, care to take a walk down memory lane?
Adri said nothing and, instead, took Theo's hand and squeezed it tight. Theo looked to their other side, where Medicham stood, looking quizzically at the tower.
Ready?
Medicham nodded, though with equal uneasiness.
We've gone to weirder places.
It's familiar places I hate.
Chum.
They started small. The classrooms, the lecture theatres, dormitories of students they had particularly hated. Theo kept expecting to see little signs of life they remembered, but though the structure was very similar, the history had been wiped from it.
The new additions won't be ready yet, will they?
Let's be honest, Theo. You didn't bring us here for new discoveries, did you?
No, I suppose not. Kanan's office?
The room was almost exactly recreated, though its books and oddities had all been taken by their owner to their new chambers at the Conclave. Instead, it felt like the set of a play that no one had yet written.
Wonder how many weirdos will end up hiding out here like we did.
Do you think we were the weirdos?
Oh, you're kidding, right? Come on. The library? That's what you really came here for.
Adri and Medicham turned to leave, and in the brief second before they followed, Theo recalled their last conversation with Kanan. Years ago, before they took a vow of silence and seemed to disappear into the very fibres of the Conclave.
You don't look pleased to be asked to become a master of a tower at the Conclave.
I wish you hadn't brought me back here. I was happy. Elsewhere, roving.
I didn't bring you back here to be happy. I brought you here to pack.
You hate me a great deal, don't you?
I've never hated you. And you made the only choice you could when the time came. Without Slowpoke or that Medichamite, well, it would have been a very different story.
But I also didn't tell you anything. Things you needed to know.
That's true. But I've come to terms with it.
You haven't.
How can you know?
Because I am in the winter of my life, and I have still not forgiven the sins performed on me in the spring.
Theo?
Theo came to and realized they had reminisced in transit and found themselves standing in a nondescript corridor somewhere halfway up the tower. It was only after realizing they had stopped that they realized why they seemed to have stopped there subconsciously. A simple plaque that read, "A tribute to all the acolytes who perished here at Team Nautilus's hand."
Do you know, when we were fighting Frey, at our worst moment, I thought about the acolyte I watched die. Right here.
Adri didn't speak. They were not often privy to the moments that happened in the sanctum of solitude.
I was so close to death, and I thought about how that child must have felt as I watched them slip away. In so much pain, with so much unanswered. And I wondered, was I any different even after all the life I'd lived? Is anyone able to be different at the end?
But you didn't reach the end, did you?
The library. We have to head there.
Theo!
Adri had squared up to Theo in the corridor, ready to scrap. It was Medicham who held them back, however, and the haunted look in their eyes made Adri stop pushing. Theo wished they could have told Adri more, wished they had the words for it, wished it was something they could talk to with anyone other than Brandy, Kenny, and Medicham. But today that changed. Today they were vulnerable again. The library, like Kanan's office, had yet to be filled with books, and so it too felt more skeletal than corporeal. But Theo and Adri were coming to see the recreated chamber of the tome in its vaults, which had been adorned with a reconstructed and complete version of its tapestry, all the truth restored to it, either in redoing the sections removed by rebels or in adding new panels where the story had needed elaborating on. Togekiss and Norman, Slowking and Gordo, even Frey, all now found themselves woven into the fabric, along with an image that Adri stared at in amazement, because they had never seen it before, though Theo had seen it when designing it. Here it showed Theo prone on the ground between a pink-haired paladin, a Medicham, and a bow-tie-wearing magician. Then another Theo walked away towards a white light which acted as a veil to the King's Rock, which Theo held before then turning and walking away, side by side with Slowking.
Is this?
It is.
And you?
Yes.
And so you?
Turned it down. Yes.
Why? How?
Theo had always known that, although images were an easier primer, it would eventually come down to their words. And though they'd never been able to think what to say, they had always hoped this moment would conjure the words. And it did.
I was shown how I could have single-handedly engineered society to any answer I chose. And I would have chosen the right answer because of the people I love. But there's no point in a society predetermined to succeed. That's just a thought experiment. It has to be the small choices made by everyone every day that brings us paradise.
Did Slowking tell you that?
No. That's what I told him.
Adri stared at them and, unable to stop themselves, they began to sob.
You idiot. You complete idiot. Medicham, aren't they a complete fool? You can't leave things in the hands of people. That's how you get the Pokemon League. Frey. Me.
Precisely. Even the bad bits turn good eventually, Adri. And to expect none of us to make bad choices anymore. It's not about asking if people will be bad. It's about asking how we educate, prepare, and facilitate a better world in spite of it.
How can you believe in us? How can you believe in me? We're all so broken.
Theo took Adri's hand, and then Medicham's,
Because suffering
and they squeezed Adri's hand,
and sacrifice
and they squeezed Medicham's.
and solitude may break us, but then we rebuild. You rebuilt me, Adri, like Kintsugi, along with Medicham and Kenny and Brandy. into someone more beautiful than before. Now, come on. We have a world to rebuild.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh, lovely.
There we go.
So shout out, Tom. That was a difficult task.
Yeah.
That's a
thank you.
huge narrate. Huge narrate.
I'm sorry for my performance in the ad
I
read.
tell you,
You did definitely improve.
It's when you found confidence was with the word apotheosis, and then he was like, "I've got that, and now I'm good. Now I'm on a roll."
I started correcting things that were I didn't get tripped up. That's where I felt good. That's where I found it in the second one. I was
Cheers,
like, yes.
Diva.
There we go. Okay,
have we got any comments?
let's have a look. Okay,
They're just the poor live listeners are just watching Stuart Clark's acting face, just constantly doing like, oh no, it's me. Why? Why?
well, we haven't lost any listeners. They've all stuck it out.
You're
That's
still
a good
here.
sign. Well
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Okay, let's see what everyone says.
I thought that was our listeners.
What? 35 minutes, 21, 22. It's just going up.
3,524, 3,525.
Ginny says, Stuart is so still. I keep wondering if the camera has stalled. That's fair. That's fair.
You have to act like you're in water, Stu, for the next one. Just keep flowing.
Keep it fluid. Fluid?
Fluid.
Flow 'em.
Flow 'em.
Flow 'em. Tree jug. Right. Now, what does it say? I love that it looks like they finished it like they started in someone's living room. Yes.
Yeah, we have.
We've
We
come full
absolutely
circle.
have.
Yep. Yeah.
That's growth. Going
Oh,
back
yeah.
to how you started.
Okay.
We've gone back to that sound quality as well.
Well, okay. Ginny says this is so lovely. Fushi Gadani says that was amazing. Wow. Debbie says that was beautiful. Jeremy says that was beautiful. Everyone's loving it. They're loving it.
I was loving it. And
It's all good.
unsurprising, it is great.
It's all great.
It is lovely. Now, next up, we actually initially had. Do we completely change the tone and do the old Mr. T scene, or do we go for Gary?
What is the Mr. Thompson scene? Like,
Well, yes, we have a Mr. Thompson.
Let's do
scene.
Mr. Thompson.
Should we do Mr.
scene?
Thompson?
Yeah, let's
and
do
then
Mr.
we'll do
Thompson.
Gary afterwards.
Because
Remind
I'm
us who
scared
Mr.
because I haven't had one read
Yeah, we
out
should do
yet.
a Tom one.
It's
Yeah.
definitely. Well, Tom, you've now got the next two,
Oh,
regardless of
no,
what
now
order
it's
they're
a
in.
rush of rubbish.
I think we do after that absolutely beautiful scene. We do the
Yeah.
complete opposite. The pure
who do
ugly
you,
Mr.
but who do you
Thompson.
select as narrator? From is there much narration in Mr. Thompson scene, Tom?
There is a slight because there's no narration.
Oh,
Ooh.
my God.
There is
so
a character who is narrating in the Mr. Thompson.
well, surely
scene.
you should play Mr. Thompson, right? As you are the only facet of Mr. Thompson in the podcast. No one else has ever touched.
You're the only
Mr.
person who
Thompson.
remembers who
But
Mr. Thompson
I was
is.
going to say before we start, little. Does anyone remember Mr. Thompson? They were the character in one episode.
Okay, we'll give chat a moment to see if they remember Mr. Thompson.
Who remembers what Mr. Thompson was and why
This
they were
is-
significant?
This is huge points. This is big. This is bigger than the Cedric
This-
points.
Yeah, exactly. This is real.
one
What
character.
page- what page is it, Ali?
Oh, it's basically the end. It's 56, right at the end of 56, I think.
Okay, tacked on, if you will.
55, actually. Oh, no, wait.
Bottom of
54. 54. God, third time's a charm.
Oh, yes. This is quite complex in terms of its concept, right? Yeah,
Ish.
yeah.
Ish.
It's basically an advert, right?
It's an advert. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a radio ad.
Oh,
But shall
okay.
we explain who Mr. Thompson is? Because I
Yeah.
don't think anyone's
Please.
Has anyone got it?
Everyone says I definitely know. Just waiting to see if you will remember.
Mr. Thompson is a
okay.
Vigoroth. And
Is
a Vigoroth
Was he always a
he
Vigoroth?
was always a
Always a
Vigoroth.
Okay.
Always a Vigoroth, and he lived underneath the core and was appeared in the Cosmic Power Arc.
Yeah.
So when
Oh, in the
Kenny
wild
was
area,
learning how
right.
to rap with his friends in World G,
With Kenny G.
with
yeah.
Kenny
Yeah.
G,
Yeah.
Mhm.
they were going off topic, shall we say? And Mr. Thompson, a very
Well-meaning.
well-meaning and strict Pokemon, came in to try and keep them on track, to try and keep the podcast moving, to make sure that the main plot was being followed. And
Played by Tom Dale, the complete opposite of everything you just said.
and Ali was so annoyed that I was suggesting that he needed to get going on the
I think
plot.
the context was Tom had just had a scene that had gone on for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then after about 4 minutes, he'd gone, guys, can we please keep this moving along?
And then I had to pretend that was a Vigoroth that had come in. And then we named him Mr. Thompson.
Okay.
And then I thought, what better character to get a nice ending than Mr. Thompson?
Wow.
okay.
So do you have the cast list, Tom?
Okay, so the cast is first of all in mine there is like an SSFX thing that's not to be
Okay.
read out.
That's not. That's
just,
for edited.
That's just if someone
I-
did want to
okay,
edit
I'm
it.
gonna
We don't have to edit it. but
Well,
That's
I'd
just
like to
for-
volunteer for audio describer.
I was going to put you as audio describer.
Okay, that's great.
It's a
that's
fun
great.
role.
It is good fun, yeah.
Um,
Pure advert style. In a world.
Ali, can you be Dan Nouncer?
Oh, yeah.
That feels right.
I think I was the OG Dan announcer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay, David, can you be Zapdos,
Yeah.
Old Witch,
Yeah.
and the baby Pokemon, any baby Pokemon?
Sundries. Oh, just
Yeah.
sundries. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just going to check.
And
Oh,
Greek
what it is.
chorus.
Brilliant.
Greek chorus.
And I will be playing Mr. Thompson by popular demand. That I have to play Mr. Thompson. Which is
Both of
fair
your
enough.
fans have demanded it.
All right. Are we ready? Are we going to go?
Total.
Are we just going to try this and hope it works?
Yeah.
I
let's
guess
do
so.
it.
Let's
I
try
guess
it.
I think it'll be clear.
Okay, so this scene is Mr. Thompson. Hi, folks. Dan Nouncer here, and we will return to our television coverage of the Poke-Olympics. That meant to read?
No, the Pome
The
Olympics.
Pome-Olympics.
The Poke Olympics, yes.
Yeah,
no,
I'm just going to start the scene again.
What's the
Hi!
Pome-Olympics?
I don't know, just auto-corrected.
That's
What's crazy
that's
is
a
my
typo,
phone
folks.
auto-corrected it to Pome... Oh, not a word.
How many times have you been thinking about a pommel horse exclusive Olympics? Your autocorrect was like, well, obviously this is
Don't
another
need to-
pommel Olympics.
Really
list.
don't need to go into my search history here that I've been typing the word pommel.
Okay, folks, take two. Beep. Slam. Hi, folks, Dan Nouncer here, and we will return to our television coverage of the Poke-Olympics after these short messages from our sponsors, now with audio description.
A stop-motion animation shows a small Torchic standing at the side of a road.
How did these Torchics cross the road? By walking across it in a designated crossing area in a direct and purposeful way. But what if the Torchic is young and prone to dangerous distractions? What if they get complacent and let their naivety, their joie de vivant, lure them from their destination?
The young Torchic begins to cross the road, but gets distracted by a bright yellow object in the sky. They look up.
Torchic?
Thunderbolt! The screen flashes brightly and the Torchic is disintegrated by a huge thunderbolt. The camera pans up to see an animated Mega Zapdos in the sky, wearing a top hat and twiddling their large curly moustache.
Zap, 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 zap.
A real-life Vigoroth walks in front of the action and looks down the lens of the camera.
Hi, I'm Mr. Thompson. Last year, I escaped the confines of the wild area underneath the core with a singular goal. I wanted to make sure I keep the youth of today on the straight and narrow. Quite literally.
Mr. Thompson the Vigoroth picks up a large lollipop sign that says stop. A new animation begins, showing animated versions of General Flash, the O of the Church of Slaslow, and Formia's darling Kenneth Mullet running around a large map of Formia. They have spirals for eyes and are running around in seeming chaos.
I met some of Formia's so-called heroes, and I can tell you firsthand, they could and should have saved Formia much earlier than they did, but they were so distracted by ancillary issues, irrelevant conversations, and
Mr. Thompson visibly shudders.
side quests.
A new animation begins, showing baby Pokemon and humans crossing the same road in a single file, guided by an animated Vigoroth.
If those charlatans had heeded my expert guidance, much of the pain we all experienced would never have taken place. That's why I started Mr. Thompson's Life Direction course. Give your life the focus punch it needs to get you where you want to be now.
The animated Mega Zapdos attempts to thunderbolt the line of children, but the animated Vigoroth punches it hard in the chest, tears off both of its wings, snaps its beak, and rips off its head. The animated baby Pokemon and humans cheer before the Vigoroth ushers them across the road again.
Yay!
That's Mr. Thompson's Life Direction course. Sign up at your nearest local well, and one of my representatives will be able to help you put one foot forward, then the other foot, and then move that first foot even more forward. 10 per diem points a session is a small price to pay. Small process to pay.
Don't worry, I'm highlighting the
Thank you.
typos, Tom.
A small price to pay to don that focus sash, focus your energy, and achieve the main overarching goal of your life.
Mr. Thompson returns to the screen, and an old witch joins him.
Say, young dear, I'm an old witch and in need. My meowth is stuck in that pseudo-woodo. Please, could you...
Absolutely not, you old witch.
Mr. Thompson punches the old witch.
Ow!
The old witch walks slowly off screen.
It's simple techniques like that which will keep you from straying from the main journey. Remember, you are the player character in your journey, and anyone who asks for help is just a non-player character trying to muck you around.
The Vigoroth salutes.
Complete your quest. There is no time for fun or character relationship developments. Max your stats and beat the big bad evil guy as fast and efficiently as you can.
The animated baby Pokemon and humans return.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. We wrote this rap on appreciation of your strong sense of discipline.
What the hell are you doing? Cross the mucking road and stop getting distracted. I swear to Pokemon Christ, I will end every one of you. Every mucking one.
The babies flee for their
And
lives.
you, Kenny Mullet, you better watch yourself, because the next time you stray from your goal, I will be there. You are at a junction in your quest, and I will be the one to point you on the path of...
Formian wardens enter and drag Mr. Thompson as he comes.
As he
Co-times to shout.
No, I'm not changing it.
continues.
I drag Mr. Thompson as he co-times to shout.
That should be continues, audio description guy. Say it again, but with the right word.
Formian wardens enter and drag Mr. Thompson as he continues to shout.
Team Crossroad is here, Kenneth, and we will come directly for you.
The advert ends rather awkwardly with an empty screen.
Well, that was one weird commercial. Apparently, that was one of our sponsors.
Apparently so.
Oh, audio description guy. You're still here.
I'm always here, Dan.
Wait, what?
The audio description guy approaches Dan Nouncer from behind.
Oh, why didn't you say you were here? I've always wanted to meet.
Dan Nouncer turns around and his face is Frostlass pale.
No, not you. Anyone but you. Please. I love my audio equipment.
Dan Nouncer flees for his life. The audio describer is now revealed on camera and addresses the audience directly. That's right, I'm talking to you, wherever you are and wherever you go. Remember, I am always close by, like the curdle on the Miltank farm, like the ghastly at the feast. Don't let your guard down, Whisma, Whisma! There we go.
Wow.
There it is. It's went places. That went
that was brilliant.
places.
Really glad I didn't read that one in advance. Much more fun hearing
Might
that
I
live.
say you played the old witch must.
You did. That was my favourite bit.
Vicky says Mr. Thompson needs to take ADHD meds.
Correct.
I particularly enjoyed the typos in there. I think my favourite one was, what if the Torchic is young and prone to dangerous distractions? What if they get complacent and let their nativity, their joie de vivre, turn them from their destination?
Oh.
And nativity is very
A
distracting.
very distracting nativity.
Jeremby says this is such emotional whiplash after the theatre. Don't you
It
see?
really is.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Wouldn't be critical deter. if
That's
that
what the
wasn't
two of
case.
us bring.
That
isn't
is
it?
what we
Yeah.
bring.
That's that
Yeah.
side
One
of the
brings
sofa.
queer trauma and the other brings brass eye.
Right, now it's time for
Oh,
another
gosh.
Tom
Where do
scene.
we go now?
I very
this
much
one-
bring.
this
I
one-
very much bring tongue stuck to a frozen lamppost vibe. That's
do.
that's the kind of energy I
You do.
sort of end
So
up
we're still floating around in the mid
We're
years.
still floating around in the mid-years, but this
the
scene...
Dan Mountain mid years.
So now we know what happens to
Oh,
Dan
so he
Mountain.
lost his audio equipment
He lost
6
his-
years on. Oh,
Oh,
that's
no.
tragic.
because he got too complacent.
Yeah,
he
that's
thought
right.
he was
Yeah.
back.
He did.
Oh.
But no, this scene is entitled Gary Smoke.
Ooh,
Yes, it's a
big boy,
Gary-
big
it's a
boy.
Gary scene.
Okay.
Um,
Monkey.
Tom, would you
and-
like to assign?
Tom
Yes.
wrote, so Tom will.
I will assign
Oh, sorry,
these.
Page 40.
Thank you.
Okay, Gary Smoke. Gary Smoke will be played by Stuart Clark.
Oh
Has to be. Has to be. Come on.
Brandy will be played by me.
No.
What?
Yeah. I
Unacceptable.
think Ali will narrate,
Ooh,
if that's
have
okay.
you done the narrate
Not
yet?
done a narration.
No, I
Not
thought-
done
I thought- I
narration.
thought maybe
Thanks, man.
narrate.
Thank you.
And then, David, please could you play Candy, Barnaby, Calico, and I don't think Coughing has lines, but they might. So
I can just bring some
Just
gentle
bring some-
moves.
Ali, I've just
General
realised we can
coughing.
both be on screen, and I was choosing for it to just be me.
Like a true-
like that was
like a
that was
true
choice.
actor.
That was a distinct
Yeah.
choice. They're going to look at me, and not even a good picture of me,
Everyone.
like a blocked picture of
They
my
were seeing
face.
your mouth. That was all they were seeing.
Oh, okay, right.
So this one I've tried to put the character name before who's
Yeah.
speaking, but just as a heads up, Ali, it's just for the speech mark. So
Yeah.
the
So
narrator
if
has
there's
come
no
in.
speech marks, it's your
Yeah.
boy.
Okay.
great. All right,
So
well-
any further context needed, Tom, or is this just?
No, I think it comes across.
Speaks for itself.
It's a few years after, as we say, we're in the mid years. It's focusing on Gary Smoke, and we're on the set of a TV show.
Ooh, okay.
And
Okay.
speaking of which, Gary Smoke. Smoke billowed around Gary's feet underneath the sealed door in front of him.
No. Relania,
Gary pounded his fists against the large steel door.
what about everything we talked about? Everything we promised each other? We were going to see the stars, weren't we? Every single one.
Gary crumpled to the floor, his tight-fitted spacesuit squeaking against the door as he slid downwards. He looked down. The S symbol on his chest began to glow through his suit. Gary clenched his fist, resolved.
No, I'm not giving up on you. Without you, Relania, there are no stars worth seeing. I'm going to save you, not because I love you, even though I really do, but because I am a special defender, and we save people. So I'm going to save you. And together, we're going to save the Remeradians, then the planet Alpha 5, and then we'll save every single star in the sky.
Tears in his eyes, Gary stood up and struck a pose. Crouched down, arms straight back behind him, and head up.
Every single one. Or my name isn't Wesley Dragonite.
And cut.
Gary dropped the pose instantly and looked around. He was trying not to seem frantic, but he couldn't help himself. Not today. He heard a tapping on the metal door next to him.
Oh, sorry.
Gary opened the door and smog poured out, followed by a small coffin wearing a scarf. They puffed out more smog and pointedly did not look at Gary. The coffin floated away and into a nearby trailer, slamming the door behind her.
Don't worry about her, Gary. She's still upset about losing Best Actress at the Golden Bow Ties again. She'll get over it, maybe blow off some steam.
The director said as she strolled over. Gary nodded hurriedly, trying to keep his gaze on her, and at least act like he heard what she said.
Blow off steam? Come on, nothing. You normally at least pretend to laugh at my jokes.
Gary again just nodded, returning his gaze to multiple soundstage entrances, wishing he had a giraffe-rig tail so he could watch all of them at once. He needed to keep an eye out. What if she arrived and he missed her?
If you're waiting for Brandy, I just got word she isn't coming anymore.
The director said nonchalantly.
What?
Gary nearly snapped his neck, swinging it to look at his director in the eyes. No, the scene was over. She wasn't the director anymore. She was just back to being his friend Candy.
Wow, you really are excited, huh? Don't worry, I'm just kidding. She's in makeup. Who knows? Maybe she might even talk to you this time.
Candy grinned with the playful glee of a Meowth with a ball of yarn. Gary and Candy had known each other long enough and worked together long enough to tease without worry. It still didn't make it any less annoying for Gary to be on the receiving end.
Ha ha. Well, we have a scene together this time, so even if she doesn't talk to me, she has to talk to Wesley Dragonite, special defender.
Gary struck his now patented Dragonite pose, but as he lifted his head, he felt another sharp pain.
Well, whatever you do, don't salute this time. I'm still suffering from the secondhand embarrassment.
Candy winked and took her place behind the camera for some last-minute discussions with the director of photography, a Gliscor. He rubbed his neck. Did he really just injure his neck by turning to look at someone too quickly? Sloking, he was getting old. What was he now? 25? Damn, that's basically 30, which means he might as well be 40. No one's called up 40. He didn't want to be old. He'd only really just started enjoying life. Turns out there's a lot less pressure on you when you aren't the Pokemon champion. Knowing asking you questions about protecting the whole region, how to stabilize the economic insecurity faced by families affected by natural Pokepower disasters, is entrusting large-scale infrastructure industries to profit-driven corporations the best way forward? Oh, so boring. He knew he would never have come up with this local warden stuff that Brandy had started. Yep, he was much better now being an actor. There was nothing in the world easier than acting. Seeing the people on screen, we agree. You could just...
It's Tom throwing shade.
Tom, the agent who works with actors. Nothing in the world easier than acting. You just stand there, say words written for you, look the way people want you to look, generally be cool, and get paid. What was there not to love? And this job especially, starring in Formia's #1 TV series, The Special Defenders. This season, season 5, was a particular favorite because it was all set in space. Gary loved space.
It's true, I do. I just
love the idea that Gary just loves space.
It's just so cool, man. God, all those planets.
All of the
So far.
sets, the
All those hot
costumes.
aliens.
Oh, man, the aliens.
All of the sets, the costumes, the aliens, the stories. It all made him feel like a kid again. Not many things made him feel that way, all giddy and excited. Only 2 things, actually. Space and her.
Quiet on set, please. General Flash taking the floor.
Came the call through the soundstage speakers. Gary snapped to attention, causing another rush of pain through his neck.
Oh, God.
Took all of his will not to yelp like a herdier. As he stood stone-edged still, his eyes started watering. He wasn't crying, of course. It was just the pain escaping through another route. Was he sweating as well? Oh, what happened to him? He never used to feel like this around Brandy. How can she have this effect on the coolest man in Formia? A voice pierced the air behind him.
You're standing in my spot, Gary.
Gary jumped a full foot into the air and yelped like a lillipup. He instinctively dropped to one knee, an instinct he immediately regretted. He heard Candy giggling from behind the camera.
General Brandy. No, Flash, sir, ma'am, Brandy. Your generalness.
Less than a second, and it was already a disaster. Brandy held a hand out for Gary. Accepting his humiliation could not become any worse. He took her hand and got to his feet. Now, eye to eye, he could see that Brandy looked even more intimidating than the last time he saw her. She wore her official military gear, but her hair was now even longer than before. She had let her natural brown roots grow back, which she had scraped back into a very long callus plate. Plate.
She's wearing a plate.
She's wearing a plate on her head.
That doesn't seem
I
unbranding.
was gonna say, she's worn crazier stuff.
What type does that turn RCS into?
The callus plate.
Callus plate.
Just French.
But whereas the hair on the top of her head was brown, her plaited hair was entirely pink. It was so long, she looked as though she could use it to whip someone with it. The look in her eyes was the same as the last time they saw each other, though. A steel-type gaze that made Gary shiver. Thanks. It wasn't that he was afraid of her, but the way she looked at him made him afraid to disappoint her. It was how she looked at all of Formia, with a look of expectation, requiring everyone around her to do better. If Gary had a favorite teacher, he imagined this is the way she would have looked. Gary snapped. Oh, wait, no. If Gary had a favorite teacher, he imagined this is the look she would have. Gary snapped. Bloody hell. Candy snapped Gary out of his daze.
Brandy, we weren't briefed about what you wanted to say. We were told it was top secret, a large-scale announcement, just that Gary needs to say, Formia depends on you as Wesley Dragonite. Is everything all right?
Start rolling, Candy. You'll know soon enough.
Brandy had laser focus, staring straight down the camera lens. Gary swallowed his nerves and tried to gain a foothold in the conversation.
What are we thinking? Is it arms around each other's shoulders, or are we like talking serious? Arms folded, head bowed, sort of vibe, or free form, maybe.
He can feel himself talking too much.
Honestly, it doesn't matter. Let's just get it done.
What was happening in Formia to cause Brandy to have such an intensity? Gary's mind was racing. What was she about to announce? Are we all going to be at war again? Is there a new evil team to worry about? Has she come all the way down here to cancel the Special Defenders Season 4 Special Defenders Pokemon in Space?
Okay, link established. Going live, General, in 5, 4, 3, 2...
Candy mouthed the 1, and a red light blinked on a camera screen. Gliscor raised a claw from behind the monitor, indicating it was time to speak. But Brandy didn't. She just stood there, staring down the camera, almost glaring. He would not have been surprised if there were reports of viewers being paralyzed through their TV screens. Gary decided now was his chance.
Well, what do we have here, folks? It's our beloved General Flash, original member of the real-life Special Defenders, and now Chief Warden of the Formian Warden Collective. So here she is to deliver an important announcement with me, Wesley Dragonite. Take it away, General.
While speaking, Gary had been moving erratically around Brandy, improvising not just his lines, but his body as well. He hoped the effect looked cool, but spying Candy's head in her hands, perhaps he was wrong.
Thank you, Wesley. Yes, I have a big announcement I need to make. Formia is making huge strides in its recovery from the Pokemon League's orchestrated war on the poker-powered members of our population. I want to personally thank all those who have applied to the Formian Warden Collective for their local Warden offices, and to all those taking part in the new Pokemon League Challenge, the East and West Formian Blitzel Ball tournaments, and the newly established Hoops contests for people in Pokemon now happening all over the region. All of you have taken responsibility in healing our home and slowly allowing us to return to a normal, peaceful, happy Formia. For that, we are all in your debt. But today, I'm here to bring news of a different kind.
Gary saw Brandy grit her teeth. How bad could this be? Whatever it was, he was going to support her and say his line with as much heart as he could. Brandy took a deep breath.
I am here to tell everyone in Formia that there is now a 2-for-1 sale on nest balls in all Whiskey's Delio's outlets.
Gary's jaw hit the floor.
So buy them now while stocks last. Deal ends at the end of July Can Rock.
She turned to look at Gary and nodded. Gary looked down the lens of the camera, completely thrown.
Formia depends on you?
Brandy nodded again, this time to Candy.
And we're out.
Came Candy's voice. The red light in the camera was gone. Silence fell over the studio. Brandy turned to the whole crew, beaming.
Thanks so much, everyone. Love the show. Really appreciate all your hard work in keeping up the spirits of Formia.
If Gary had any call to begin with, he lost it here.
That was your big announcement. You made it seem like you were about to tell us we were being invaded. Not come here and do an ad read.
Shouting caused Gary's neck to surge with pain.
Ah!
Careful, old man. We'd hate for Wesley Dragonite to pull a muscle.
Brandy winks at him, and he immediately blushed a deep shade of Magikarp.
But no, I'm sorry. I use my position to shill for my mum. She's still making me make it up to her about the whole not telling her about Dad being a Celio thing. Mums. Anyway, you know I love the show. I think you're an amazing, amazing defender.
It's Special Defender. How can you get that wrong? You were a Special Defender.
As Gary spoke, he slowly sunk to the floor. His neck seemed to stop throbbing when he was lying flat.
Really? I think amazing defender works better. I wonder...
Just before she could finish, there came the sound of a huge engine revving.
Oh, sorry, Gary. As fun as it was to catch up, I've got to go. My boyfriend's here.
Brandy smiled.
Boyfriend?
Gary said, still from him, horizontal position. I'm reading it as it's given to me. And then, seemingly from nowhere, a motorbike appeared. Driving it was a shock of long blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and wore tight-fitting gold leather biker gear.
My darling, you look as radiant as the Alolan sun.
Shut up, Barnaby. Move over and let me drive.
Barnaby Timms gratefully surrendered the driver's seat and took his place in one of the 3 adjoining sidecars. Gary recognized one of the other 2 men immediately. Hedgerald, editor of the Hedgerald Herald, possibly the worst newspaper he had ever read. But who was the other guy?
Trouble in route duo 5 Mien Foos.
God, this guy spoke slowly.
Just tell me on the way.
Brandy said as she put on a bright pink helmet.
Wait.
Gary said, straining to sit up.
Which one is your boyfriend?
Brandy smiled.
They all are, Gary. I've got lots of boyfriends all over Formia, all ready to help me out whenever I want.
It was not or never, apparently.
It was now or never.
Well, maybe if you've got so many, maybe I could be one of your boyfriends.
Smell you later, Gary.
Brandy kicked the clutch and the bike roared through the studio out of the main doors. Gary was left sat on the floor of the soundstage. Candy came over to help him to his feet.
Well, that was less embarrassing than last time, I think.
She was trying to make him feel better, but it wasn't working.
Hey, Candy.
Gary looked at her.
Maybe when we wrap today, you and I could, I don't know, grab a coffee, just talk.
Candy turned around and howled with laughter. She continued to laugh and laugh and laugh as she walked out of the studio.
Sexual object. Romance with it.
Gary wasn't sure what that was supposed to mean.
No, I think she made it clear.
Out of the corner of his eye, he could see his co-star, the coughing, spying on him through the window of her trailer. He caught her eye and she winked before closing the curtains. Gary looked up to the sky and said to himself,
Oh, I promised I'd never go there again, but at least someone wants me.
Gary hobbled over to the trailer and gingerly climbed the steps before stepping inside. Smoke seeped out from under the door.
Hey, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm not
They just had a chat, right?
Yeah.
Just went
Any
in for a
kids
chat.
listening, they just had an adult conversation.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. Right.
Well read, everyone.
Well
I was
done,
really
everyone.
pleased with that. And Stuart Clark, you're just so depressingly good at playing
Yeah.
that
You
guy.
really are. You really are. I love that Brandy has accepted polyamory. That
Yes.
feels right.
Yeah.
Hung out with Theo,
this time.
They all are, Gary. They all are. Everyone.
hung out with Theo long enough and got there in the end.
Well, exactly.
Right.
Very good.
Okay.
Well, we have
Right, reactions. We have, sorry.
Yes, let's go.
Oh,
that.
yes.
We have
go on.
Fushi saying Brandy being an absolute icon.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Polly Brandy, just everywhere.
Polly Brandy.
So
I can
here
see
for
that
this.
being-
Is that one of the evolutions of Polyworld?
Oh,
That's what
Barnaby.
actually happens when you give them Brandy the King's Rock.
Slay, Brandy. Slay.
Slay.
Yes.
Polly Brandy.
I love her so much. General Flash. General Flash, I'm screaming. Oh. Also, Fushi says, I hate to admit it, but Gary is such a mood right now. Fushi, what are you going
Fushi,
through?
oh, hello. Oh, no. Don't get so low that you go into a coughing's trailer. Don't do it.
Ellie says, Olive says, why is Gary me with Brandy? Oh, right. Right. Okay.
Have we got any more
We
mid?
have one more mid scene.
Should we do that and then take another little break?
I think so.
I think
that
so.
sounds
Let
like
me
a
check
good
on.
idea.
Yeah. So this one's slightly longer at 59, but
Well,
I
there
think,
are more scenes. That makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so let's crack on with it.
Which
so
one's this one?
This one is the Hannah scene.
Oh.
The Hannah scene.
Oh, this is my last one. Yeah.
This is, yes.
Okay. I shall narrate
This
then,
is
I guess.
page 50.
Okay. So I shall narrate and I will give. Oh, so who have we got? We've got.
I think we've only got two
I
characters.
think we've only got
actually.
2 characters.
So
Do
someone's gonna chill.
you want to chill, Ali? Because you just narrated.
I'm happy. I'll happily
Yeah?
chill.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think narrator is always a bit of a heavier,
Okay.
except in the Mr. Thompson scene where I felt like, you know,
It was very key.
it was so key.
Tom, do you want to do Hannah?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I do.
You've got it. And David, you should play Garchomp.
Great.
Okay.
So
Roll
here we
those
go.
born to play.
Hannah / Garchomp.
Okay. Somewhere in the northern deserts of Formia, the Garchomp dragged his weary frame into his secret base. The day had been long, and his pathetic haul for the day was 2 shards and a revive. A day of digging through the scorching desert sand, crushing rocks and coming up empty. His blades were chipped and blunted, and his jaw ached from the effort of it all. He would be lucky if he got 3 per diem points for this lot at the local bazaar. The futility of his endeavour allowed a rupturing in the dam of his emotions, and the flood of exhaustion hit him like a giga impact. Sloking's crown, it was hot. He collapsed to the dirty baking clay floor and fell into unconsciousness. Garchomp's eyes peeled open, fighting the foggy haze of unconsciousness. 2 feet were standing before him as he blinked back into vision. Adrenaline flooded his body, causing his muscles to fire. He leapt up, fighting the growing panic. Who was in his secret base? How did they find him? Was this a mystic zealot come to finish him off after fleeing the final battle? Or worse, someone who knew the truth of what he was and had come to erase the final stain Frey had left on this world? He growled, doing his best to seem intimidating despite the atrophied nature of his muscles, swishing his battered blade arms. The girl before him did not seem to be affiliated with Mystic, or emblazoned with any insignia he recognized. She was small, with a round face and soft features. In fact, she was not just small, she was young. A child? She can't have been more than 14. Her clothing was tight-fitted, dark hues with an accessory cape, designed to evoke the flames of a chandelure. It was a striking image. She looked at Garchomp, with controlled calm, large eyes focused and firm.
It's okay.
She said with an exaggerated lisp.
You'll have to forgive my trespassing here. But it was that or risk losing you when you move bases again. You're a hard Pokemon to track down.
Garchomp gritted his serrated teeth. She knew who he was. That could only spell trouble. He shuffled slowly, attempting to put distance between himself and the girl. If he could just get into the ground, he could disappear into the tunnels.
Oh, I almost forgot. Here.
The girl held out a small device in the shape of a bow tie that glowed with a crystalline chamber at its center.
Here I am trying to talk to you, and you can't even respond in the same language. Can't break barriers without communicating, can we?
The Garchomp eyed the device warily, but could feel the power coming off it. It drew itself to him, or he to it, he wasn't entirely sure. It felt soothing, like a misty embrace that could heal a gaping wound. The girl nodded encouragingly. There was no malice in those large eyes. Garchomp scooped up the device in clawed hands and felt a rush of power immediately. The warmth spread to his spine and into the crevices of his brain. He felt aspects of his humanity he thought long lost fire into life, Memories of a happy childhood, an innocent era before a chance encounter with a girl with white hair had transformed him into the monster he was now. He felt himself begin to cry. The salty tears stung his broken, rough skin.
Damn calluses. No human will ever know the pain of digging face first through rock.
He started. He had spoken. He had spoken human words for the first time in over 50 years. He clutched at his shark-like mouth, unable to contain himself.
Meteorite rock.
The girl explained.
Mined from the wild area and concentrated into that bow tie device. It works even better when you wear it.
I don't understand.
Garchomp rumbled.
I couldn't tell you the full science of it, even if I wanted to, but suffice to say, it will help you discover sides of yourself you may have thought lost.
Why are you offering me this?
The Garchomp felt the adrenaline fading and the fatigue begin to creep back into its dominant position at the helm of his nervous system.
Why? Why have you sought me out?
Because we need you.
An abject reminder of a divided Formia. Nobody needs me.
The Garchomp felt a long-suppressed rage begin to bubble, as if he was giving words to thoughts that had slumbered, longing to be expressed.
I'm a mistake. A mistake that led to the near destruction of the entire region. I was robbed of the chance of a normal life and instead have had to fight and claw my way to an existence that even now is putrid in its squalor. I am at best tolerated by people who don't know what I am. I am hated and feared by those who do. You think the defeat of Frey perfected life in Formia for us half-creatures? You think war leads to utopian peace? You can't expect a region built on division for the past 50 years to simply embrace those of us who are different. You can't expect that kind of fear to simply fade away.
You're right.
The girl replied calmly.
People are still scared.
Of course they're scared. They've experienced a terrifying conflict. Their worst fears were realized. We proved them right. Everything they said about us, all the hateful lies they spread about poker powers and poker humans and everything in between, we fueled their prejudice with ours.
Which is why the work must continue.
The girl was unflappable, even as Garchomp's voice became raised and feral.
More work. I am tired.
The Garchomp eyed the girl with heavy-lidded eyes.
I don't even know your name.
Hannah, of the Special Defenders.
The Garchomp shifted on his large feet, a flicker of recognition.
I'm tired, Hannah. Tired of trying to escape a past that will inevitably catch up with me.
Then stop running and work on building the future.
I've done terrible things. I've been part of awful actions. I can never undo those things.
You wouldn't be the first among us. Trust me.
The Garchomp lumbered over towards Hannah, bladed arms, chipped but still dangerous. The small girl fell into the shadow of the dragon as he towered above her.
How do you know I'm not still that terrible creature?
He growled.
You came alone? Are you not scared?
No,
Said Hannah.
I used to be. My head was filled with the same prejudice that you mentioned. I was overcome with a hatred I didn't even know I had. That motivated me to nearly do something awful. Slowking's name, I even feared one of my closest friends. Not because of what he did, but because of what I saw him as. We live in an imperfect world, and yes, prejudice still exists. But if we aren't spending our limited time here fighting that prejudice with every fiber of our being, if all we do is hide...
Hannah glanced around Garchomp's secret base. Sparse, bare, ready to be packed up at a moment's notice.
Then for all their misplaced fear, it is we who are the cowards.
Garchomp sagged.
Come with us. I can't promise you that the world will embrace you, but I can promise we're committed to helping them try.
And if I don't?
Stay here. Live your life. If that's truly what you want, I'm not here to force anything on you.
Garchomp moved past Hannah, opening the tattered curtain that covered the entrance to the base. The sky had grown dark and stars now dotted the cloudless sky above. He must have slept for a long time.
Frey. When I met her again after all those years, I wanted to hate her for what she'd done to me, for what she'd taken from me. But I couldn't. Even at the end, she seemed to have this energy, this confidence that she was making the world a better place. It was intoxicating to think that I was working on something that might lead to something good, to be something more than a blemish on this world. I'll come with you,
He sighed eventually.
but I want the world to know. There is truth to some of the things she said. And if we erase that suffering, we're building a new world on fragile foundations.
Hannah nodded carefully.
She was as broken as me.
The Garchomp sighed.
We're all a bit broken.
Hannah said softly.
But broken doesn't mean useless.
Hannah smiled and took Garchomp by the claws.
I can't tell everyone your name is Garchomp when we get back.
Her large eyes met his hooded reptilian slits.
Do you remember it?
The bowtie device fired, the crystal glowing an even deeper hue as Garchomp accessed deep into his memories. He fished around, clawing at a lost life with the same ferocity he clawed at the rocks in his tunnels. He was confronted with flashes of his family, his home, his unfulfilled dreams, until he found what he was looking for.
Buckthorn.
Tears filled his eyes once more, only this time he didn't feel the sting.
My name is Buckthorn.
And scene.
A scene.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Particularly
Right.
enjoyable for yours truly over here.
Yeah. And
There you
then,
go.
Nice, like watching a.
oh
Just
god,
saying,
it was
you
tough.
really-
Very,
You got a very good Hannah. Yeah.
very Mara Wilson inspired, I would say. Very Matilda, very Miracle on 34th Street. I
Yeah.
really leaned in. But then I got panicked halfway through. I was like, oh no, she's 14.
Yeah,
She's older.
she is.
Maybe
She's grown.
reached the
She's
lisp.
grown.
Maybe
Yeah,
her mouth
some
has
people have
changed.
lisps forever, man.
Well,
Some
exactly.
people have
But
lisps
no, I
forever.
think certainly for the purposes of the audio podcast, Hannah will have a lisp forever.
For sure, yeah. So we're going to take a little bit of a break.
Little
Yeah.
break.
Before we do
and then
the
think
future
return to
scenes.
The future.
Okay.
We
The
find out
very
what
far
happens
future.
for Kenny, Brandy, and Theo, and other people in Formia.
Okay.
In
I
the
don't,
future.
I don't really know how to.
Well,
how
we
to-
keep this running, I
Yeah,
suppose.
I'll just mute it for a bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Can you put up the Stuart Clark headshot?
unmute. There we go.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back in the room.
This is literally it now.
Hey, Fushi. Last stint.
Stories.
You need to get a photo of us today.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
It'd be nice to get it.
Did you turn the mic?
I didn't.
Oh God, I thought I'd left it on the whole time. They would have heard all the sex stuff.
All the fanfics come to life.
Oh no, I did. Unfortunately, I did leave the Audacity running. So whoever gets round 2, it's about 20 minutes longer than. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
I don't know. That would be a pain.
Okay. Can you save that? Okay. You having your bueno?
I might have one.
Yeah, baby.
What's that?
Oh, I thought it was going to be like a new jazz track.
What is
It was just a snare hit.
Oh, is it?
That's luck point.
What's
That's crickets.
that?
Oh, that's like fantasy. Woo-doo-doo-doo.
Oh, what's that? Laughter applause.
It's time for our new mini game.
Yeah.
Stuart performs
Do you
sound.
remember how excited Tom was when we got the buttons?
It sounds so dry.
When
Me, dry, caustic.
Right, hello everyone who's still on the YouTube chat.
do we need to press record, Stu?
We've still got 14.
I'm going to press record on here
Oh, Lord, my
and
battery's
go.
running low.
Oh, your
Oh,
battery.
lap and top and- yeah.
Is it a Mac?
It is a Mac.
I do have my charger if you need it.
It's an old Mac, but
Ooh.
if
Let's have a
charger
look.
maybe works.
Is it a mag port?
Probably, yeah.
Well, let's crack on.
Let's
Let's
hurry
go. Let's
on up.
go.
I'm sure you
Get your
can
phone out,
borrow
so-
borrow a phone
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something if you need
As
it.
a ultimate backup.
Is there going to be a? I don't even need this plugged in, do I? Ultimately.
What is it?
No.
Not into your own laptop, no.
Yeah.
What is it?
Just my microphone.
Oh yeah, you don't.
Yeah,
need that
great. So actually, none of this matters.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there is literally no issue. I was like, my God, I've ruined everything. No, absolutely fine.
Do
Do we need to do an audio
This is
test, Stu, or
powering
you just
your-
happy
Yeah,
to see?
just everyone. David talk.
Hello, hi, David Leavesley.
Yeah, Tom,
Yeah. Hello, it's me, Tommy.
Ali.
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dogs.
Whose epilogue is that? Yeah, it was Quick Brown Fox. He was in episode 26. Come on, guys.
Brown fox.
As important as
Oh, Mr. T.
Where are we going to start?
Right.
Right, so
I'm just
we're
saying back. Right. So, hello everyone back in the chat. Let's see. Yeah. So everyone sort of took a break while we were taking a break.
great.
Welcome to part
Got some
3.
tea.
Welcome to part 3, which
the
is
finale.
far future.
Yeah.
This is
Yes,
far
this is-
future,
this is set in
and
the far
we
future.
10
we,
plus years.
we all took a minute, didn't we, lads? Because this is going to be the last time we all record some canon
Canon
material for
material.
Critical Ditto that's not like a reflect or just us. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
take a minute, drink some Coke,
Pour one out.
pour one out for Gordo. Yeah, let's see. Right.
Well, we're going to start. We're going to start with the scene furthest in the future, but discussing the most close to the action.
what's
the,
that?
The start of this scene is the Hedgerald and Barnaby
Oh, man.
scene
Oh,
that
okay.
Tom wrote. So,
Let's get into that.
Tom,
Let's
would you
unpack
like
it.
to?
Where?
Would you like
What
to tell us?
page
It is
that on?
page 38.
38.
Got it.
I think it's just 3 characters. I think it's.
I think it's just 3
Hedgerald,
characters.
Barnaby and the
The narrator.
yeah,
Tom, would you like to
the analyst, as Tom's called them.
the analyst? That's
I will
Challenge analysed. Nice reference to a 80s game show for all of our.
for all of our young
young
listeners.
Okay, so yeah, 3 characters: Hedgerald, Barnaby, and Analyst. Who narrated the last one?
I did, which it was my own.
Oh, it was your own one.
That's fine.
So we'll give Stu a little break on this one, and let's have. I'll cast myself as the analyst,
Oh my gosh!
And I'll
No
let-
one saw that coming.
and I'll let Ali
Ooh.
play Barnaby because David has already played Barnaby
I have.
in this.
And I did
epilogue
terribly.
before.
so
Great.
it's
Great.
And I really need to
Arguable.
recast straight away.
I cannot wait.
And
Barnaby.
David, you'll be playing Headroll.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah,
So,
you two are journalists.
Can really get into the
You can
depths
really
of
get
the
into
character
the depths
there.
of,
Right.
you know,
Find the
find that
meat.
intention.
My career was actually just me Daniel Day-Lewis for this role.
well, here we go then. Time for the first scene in the far future. Hedrold and Barnaby Timms.
Nice. In the empty offices of the Daily Telegraph, the following recording was discovered on a dictaphone found in a vanishing box within an old magic shop in Abu Dhabi. Researchers placed the recording at 2 weeks after the end of the Battle of Formia, nearly 5,000 years ago.
Now, Barnaby, are you sure you want to do this?
Hedrold, lovely Hedrold. I've never been more sure of anything.
You know, you say that a lot.
That's because I'm sure a lot, especially now.
Okay, I believe you. I wasn't prepared, though, as you've just shown up at the office. Since Elmer resigned, it's been a bit tricky. A lot of long-standing journos also left, meaning I've had to fill in so many of the pages of the Daily Telegraph myself. I'm not sure I can sustain it. One person can't scoop alone. I'm not a scooper.
Precisely, which is why I wanted to give you the exclusive. You need the column inches, and I need to tell my tale.
Yeah, of course, Barnaby. I'm sure it'll help. But I need to tell you something. I don't think the paper.
Tell me afterwards. I can't let myself get out of the zone. I don't wish to be spooked.
I didn't mean to spook you. Okay, am I all right to record you on my dictaphone?
But of course, we need the epic adventure of Barnaby Timms and Sir Cuthbert Smythe recorded for posterity and positivity. Write that down.
You can just say it again when I start recording. Are you happy with this introduction, by the way? I'm thinking, Hedrold announcer here, sitting down for an exclusive interview with one of the friends of Formia's greatest heroes to tell how it all really went down at the Battle of Formia.
And to reveal his own role in saving the region, how even the now Pokemon champion bashed for loot and begged him to join the fight and refused to let him leave. And how he saved Bash and Hannah from the stomach of a Guzzlord by jumping heroically into his mouth, knowing full well it was allergic to the synthetic fibers that make up all of Barnaby Timms' outfits, so would of course sneeze them out.
I remember it kind of differently. For one thing, you were crying and running away from the Guzzlord.
And how a boy from humble beginnings, born in a modest mansion on the banks of Zootopolis City, became a self-made fashion icon and confidant of the Church of Slaslow's leader, the O, who he messages on a regular basis.
I don't know, Barnaby. It's quite a long intro. If that's the start, how long is the story?
If you're worried about time, just hit record and we can get this colossal of a story moving.
Okay, and recording.
Here, the recording stops abruptly. Researchers think that perhaps the one named Hedrold didn't realize he was recording and then accidentally turned the recording off. It picks back up here. Again, the working theory is that after not recording, he pressed the record button, assuming he was turning it off, but was in fact turning it back on.
How was that?
Barnaby, that was incredible. I didn't think that anyone could speak so passionately for 4 hours without a breath. I've got enough here for 10, maybe 20 articles and the stuff about yours and Kenny's secret shared love of public fountains. It's honestly beautiful.
The pleasure is all mine, you beautiful scribe. When will it be published? Tonight?
Well, that's what I wanted to tell you. I don't think we have enough money to keep going to print. I think the paper might be over.
Oh, you don't have to worry about a silly thing like that, my wonderful news Bolton. I bought the paper after Alma left and sold their shares. They sold them to one of my shell companies. This one was Big Bad Team Holdings for Evil Stuff LLP. I found when villains want to sell, they like to sell to other ne'er-do-wells, so this does the trick. I bought Team Rocket from Giovanni in Kanto years ago, converted all their warehouses to factories, and now the grunts make fabulous outfits to sell to stores all across the Pokemon Kingdom.
So, you're the new CEO of the Daily Telegraph?
No, don't be absurd. You're the new CEO of the Daily Telegraph, or whatever you want to rename it. How about the Tim's Times? The Bardian? the Daily Starmy, the God of Warian. Stop me when I hit a good one. The Independentical.
Thank you, Barnaby. I won't let you down.
How could you ever let me down, my dear friend?
The recording ends here. I put it to you that this is in fact Qui-Gon Qui-Tims's great-great-great-grandlord, a rare find and an insight into the ancient family history of our wonderful QGQ, who rode a Primarina to the stars and began a civilization here on planet Formia 2. All hail the Tims dynasty. Long may they rule us.
Right, so a few things to establish here.
That's the end.
No, that's the end. That's
No,
the
I
end.
think it's covered.
Yeah,
Long may they rule us. Long may they rule
Long
us.
may the rulers.
So although this was technically a far future, 5,000 in the year's future, the contents of the recording was quite near future.
Yeah,
Very
okay.
nice.
Well, actually, one of the first ones that we should have put in the whole thing, really.
Well, that's what I said, but everyone was like, no, it's 5,000 years.
Oh no, I was very pro us putting it at the start.
Yeah. No, the analyst is a crucial character.
The
He
analyst-
really
the
does
analyst
exist.
And it just
Yeah.
proves that actually, we did as Team Galactic want us to do, go to the stars.
We did.
And,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
the Tim's dynasty
So
long reigns into the Empire.
in 5,000 years, where all the Formians are living on a different
Yeah.
planet, ruled by the Tims.
Ruled
Can we,
by the
can
Tims.
we just take a minute as well for David and Ali in that? I
Oh.
think they made that. Like the words were good, but the
And
performances.
the performances were absolutely exceptional.
I
That's
needed
what-
to be
that's what
so
elevated it.
flourishing with
Yeah.
my hands. I
What, to
couldn't
play
do
Barnaby?
it.
Good.
Is
Yeah.
this how you play Barnaby?
It
then?
I
is.
had to.
I
I had
think
to.
Voguing.
Play it, yeah.
Barnaby. Tims.
Vogue, Barnaby,
Tims,
fashion,
Tims.
hello.
Oh.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
And we also find that was how it was revealed how Bash and Hannah escaped the Guzzlord.
We
as
got
well.
there. We did get
We
there.
got
though.
there in the
We
end.
did find out. We have
did.
gained a listener. We've got 15 now.
Oh,
We've gained 2 people in the stream.
Someone heard the Guzzlord reveal and we're like, oh, I need to get him. Need to get him. What other gems will they drop?
Well,
Somebody heard
okay.
Barnaby Tims was no longer going to be featured in this episode. I'm in again.
Now I'm
Finally,
back.
Barnaby
They
Tims,
brought me back.
unmute.
Well,
He's
the
done.
extra listener and anyone who stuck around will now finally hear kind of what happens to the main three.
Yeah.
I think
Each
my favourite
episode.
comment on that one was Ginny just going, canon.
Brilliant.
Canon.
Brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant.
Right. Okay.
Well, the first scene is entitled. It's from the perspective of the one, the only Whiskey Flash.
Oh,
Boys, this is
iconic.
right near the end. It's page 58 of the article.
is this the last? This is the last one that's in the
The
document.
last one in the document,
Okay.
but the third to last one.
Third
that we
to
Ooh,
last
last
quite a
reading.
few characters in this
Quite
one,
a few
Tom.
This is
characters.
my last-
This
this
is
is
the
my
last
last
one that
one.
Tom wrote.
Yeah,
Ah,
you're bowing out. I've bowed out. Ali, have you got?
I've
You've
still
got more.
one.
David,
We've
have you
all got
bowed
one
out?
each, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
so I
done.
think-
Done,
I'm
but-
done.
I think in this one then, we're going to go with Ali will play Sheila the Bidoof.
Yes, correct.
Come on.
Correct.
Yes, I'm so happy to reveal.
Stu, if you could play Whiskey.
Oh yeah, all right, yeah.
I think Ali, can you play Cassius?
Mm-hmm.
David, you play Tyronius, and I'll play the narrator. I
Great.
think,
Yeah.
because I think Sheila goes off in the
But whiskey is fairly
Whiskey's straight through. But
okay.
Cassius
Yeah,
turns up
sounds
towards
good.
the end.
Sounds
Cassius
great.
doesn't have any lines.
Lovely. That's my
He's
favorite
got
kind of
like
character.
3 lines.
He has some mumbles. And stuff, doesn't he?
Mumbles,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
exactly.
Oh, I can mumble.
Okay.
You wait till you see my mumble.
Okay.
All right,
I
so-
like footsie with the under the table.
Hello,
Stu, I'm
hello.
so sorry.
Look at
Boys,
this.
come on.
Guys, we've all got white socks. It's like
Oh, why
it's
is
a
it
veritable
not-
snowscape.
Tom's
down
a
here.
Charizard. Tom's
Oh,
is
Charizard.
very,
I
very
went
appropriate.
with the theme. I knew the assignment.
Yeah, you've really won.
Okay.
Right, so here we are, guys. This is Whiskey Flash.
35 years after the Great Formian War, inside the Sephiroth tree.
Welcome to the Department of Suffering, Sacrifice, Solitude, and Sleep. This area is not open to the public yet, and you may only enter by the express triple authorization of the General, the Principal, and the O.
Sheila, it's whiskey. I see you every year.
Oh, I know, but we never get any visitors, so I've got to take these opportunities to practice my script. I'm getting older, a bit long in the front tooth, and my mind isn't as sharp as it once was.
Stop it. You're a summer wooloo compared to me. Look at you. Those earrings really bring out your eyes. Speaking of, got you a little something.
You didn't. A whiskey. I don't think I've got any more room on my ears for more.
I know, but I think these will perfectly accompany the other 35 sets that you've got on.
Oh, I shouldn't, but who am I to argue? 36 earrings, what am I like? Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, lovely.
Merry Christmas, Sheila. Can I just go straight through?
Oh, of course. Go on ahead, dear. As usual, we'll keep your access as our little secret from the O.
You are terrible. I'm sure they'd agree to give me access if we just asked them.
Well, the general said if we ask the O, well, wait. The general said if we ask, then the O will make you go through the 4-day non-interactive safety briefing.
Oh, muck that. How's my brother doing?
He's not great. The general's on her way. I don't know if you saw, but she announced her retirement this afternoon.
Yeah, I heard. She's coming to relieve him of his post.
Sorry.
Whiskey walks past Sheila on the reception desk and into the elevator at the end of the corridor. The office is eerily empty, other than the stationary cast forms. It always astounded Whiskey to see them in their new forms. Weather science went over her head, but this kind of stuff felt like it was from another galaxy. To see these cast forms not react to weather but to humans was bizarre. Something about the strength of will or personality was the resource to create these new forms, whatever that meant. She remembers just nodding when Brandy was explaining it. But to see them was something else. She could see the Theocast forms, transparent with long flowing cloaks and tight braids, all floating by the office safety procedures on the wall, making sure they were all fully familiar with it in case they needed to write a dissertation. The Kenny cast forms were a deep purple with cute green bow ties, all hovering next to a loaf of bread and some unopened butter, like they know something magical would happen were these two items to combine. Then the Brandy cast forms, bright pink and constantly on fire. They were all staring at each other, trying to intimidate, but none backing down. Whiskey didn't know what these guardians could do, what powers they had. As far as she knew, they had never been needed. But one push of a button on Sheila's desk and they would spring into action. Whiskey pushes the sanctum button in the elevator and the doors close. She takes a deep breath before the doors open again. She steps into the sanctum. She can't stop herself from looking at the gnarled mess of roots in the center of the tomb. Every so often, another large root would materialize and wrap around the others, an ever-evolving prison. She sees Teronius Chunder, sat in his small dinghy and holding an oar. Next to him, lying in his sleeping bag, her brother Cassius.
Whiskey, it's been too long.
It has, Mr. Crab.
Right, for the last time, that's not my name, and it's actually close to offensive.
God, everyone's so sensitive in your generation.
I feel like we are similar ages, but whatever.
How's Cassius?
He hasn't left this room for the whole year now. His body is breaking down, and he barely speaks anymore, but by Kyogre, he is still a stubborn go-goat. Keeps spouting off about his duty, protecting the region, defending the world.
You know none of that's true. He's a dutiful moron, sure, but he just wants to be here in case, Leo comes back.
And if anyone asks, I'm here for duty, for Formia, for the world, but if Octavia comes back, well, let's not dream. Especially not here. Anyway, Kenny said he couldn't sense them in here. If Brandy and Theo hadn't stopped him, I think he would have gone in to make sure, crazy fool.
Oh, but what a lovely boy.
You got that right. Merry Christmas, by the way. Did that old rascal Panda Claus give you anything?
I wish. Do you mind if I...
Of course, stupid me. I'll head back up top if there is a big emergency.
Yeah, pull the corner route, say groovy, and Kenny teleports over.
You got it.
Teronius leaves Whiskey alone with Cassius. His breathing is irregular, sharp then shallow. Whiskey reaches into her bag and takes out a large Metapod body pillow. She slides Cassius's head onto it to make him slightly more comfortable. She sits by his side and stares at the mess of thick roots in front of her. Even though it is only small, she can sense the black hole of dread within. She shivers and looks at Cassius.
Brandy's retiring because of you. Imagine that. Retiring at 56. She's not even going to help me out with the Delios franchise. Nope, no. She just wants to sit here, waste away like you. It's taken me a long time to forgive you, Cassius. It was easy to forgive Brandy. She's my little girl, but you... keeping a secret like that for over 20 years. I'm your older sister, mate. The idea of you trying to protect me like I'm some wilted blossom. No, that ain't right. Who's the one who took care of you when we was kids? Who cooked? Who helped you with your own work? Trained with you? Got the money together so you could go off with the league? Who took the force of Mum's outbursts when she would come back every few months? You're my baby brother. I'm not saying you're not strong, but you could have let me in. I could have taken it. I could have tried to help you. See, listen to me. Just full of could-haves now, innit? That's your fault. But I do forgive you. Because I don't want to let you go.
The elevator door opens. Whiskey turns, expecting to see Tyronius, but it is not him. Instead, she sees a cast form, one of the brandy forms on its own. It hovers for a moment before gliding slowly towards the sphere of roots. Whiskey freezes. She doesn't know if this counts as an emergency. She stands up.
Wait.
Cassius? Cassius, are you awake? Should I pull the root?
Cassius does not open his eyes.
Just wait. Look.
Whiskey turns back to the cast form, now floating in front of the sphere. Slowly, the fiery pink Pokemon glows with a brilliant white light. Whiskey shields her eyes and Whiskey shields her eyes with one hand and covers Cassius's with the other. The light fades. The cast form doesn't look like Brandy now. It's blue. It has a long white moustache that reaches all the way to the floor. It turns towards Whiskey and Cassius.
I knew it.
Whiskey is transfixed on the cast form. She walks closer to it and reaches out a hand. She touches its cheek. When she does, black voids open up across the ceiling of the sanctum and snow begins to fall on the room. Brandy Flash sees the Sephiroth tree in the distance from the window of the new Nidorient Express. She rubs her eyes in disbelief. Heavy snow circles around the tree like electrons around their nucleus. The snow seems to whirl in all directions before settling as a single loop around it. It looks, to Brandy, like a large Ferris wheel. She doesn't know why, but at that moment, she starts to cry.
Oh, it's another one. It's another one. It's coming.
No.
Oh,
Got you.
shit.
Oh,
Oh no!
Oh, Tom,
no.
that was so lovely.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Oh, Whiskey.
The cast form idea was another one that I was like, I'm not going to sleep if I don't write it down. It's too cool. I love cast forms reacting to humans.
Oh, that's so sad, but so.
It is, it
Oh,
is. I mean, what does it even? I don't know what,
What
that
does it
means.
mean?
What does it mean?
What does it mean? I know. I
So
did
20
so-
years of YouTube essays
I-
about that.
Yeah, it's so
I'm so sorry, Ali.
intriguing.
I forgot to actually do and change it.
I like the.
I was going to add a line for the listeners listening now, if this does go out unedited, but I was going to add a line. My plan was to, I just didn't get around to it, was to add a line from Cassius after Whiskey touched each saying, he's still in there, or like
Yeah.
he's in there somewhere, or
Yeah.
something like he's
I quite
fighting.
like
I like the vagueness.
I
Exactly.
like
it.
Darkrai is it lives in the vague anyway.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like you know.
It
In my head, Cassius has been kind of guarding from the outside, and then Leo
Yeah.
has been guarding on the inside
Mm.
with.
I'll also say, I think Ali's performance of "I Knew It" was enough.
It was.
Genuinely, I was just like,
Yeah, it's true.
Well, it kind
It's
of makes
true.
sense. You know, they
It's really easy being an actor. Just gonna say. It's really easy.
It's also quite nice to have had a scene where most of our most human characters are the people experiencing probably the most surreal open-ended
Yeah,
thing
that
in the
is-
entire
that's
story.
true.
Like,
Yeah.
That is
like having
nice.
like an old woman who
Yeah.
just runs the shop being the person who probably sees the weirdest thing that's
Yeah,
happened
exactly.
in Crystal Disco.
yeah, for sure,
feels right.
for
Exactly.
sure.
I also thought it was important to suggest that there was a very quick way for Kenny to turn up if Darkrai got loose. I was like, I feel like that's something they would do. There'd be a little way
Yeah,
for Kenny to just be like, oh,
It's a
Crap.
great scene, Tom. It answers loads of questions. that
great.
we had
There we
left
go.
over.
Well, that was
done.
our first Far Future one. And I think
was.
the other
very
scenes
strong scene.
Well, so the
coming
next
up
scene,
do answer a lot of stuff as well.
yes, the next scene actually is so that'll be right near the front of the
Yep.
the document.
Bottom to the top.
Yeah, that starts on page 13.
What is
Unlucky
this
for
one?
some, but lucky for us. This This scene is just entitled The Groovy Sanctuary.
Oh, this is a big one.
This is a big one,
This
yeah.
is a big
And
one.
Pay attention because there's a lot of characters we've never met.
Yeah. Well,
Here we
because we're in
go.
the far future.
Yeah,
so
we
there's a
are
lot
in
of
the
characters we haven't-
far, far future. I have actually just WhatsApped you guys the
Oh.
cast list.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Because
Cast list being posted. Here
it
we go.
is. Well,
Oh my
for
God.
for
Oh my God.
reasons.
God, I hope I get it. I hope I get it.
How many people does he need?
Oh my gosh. Look
Tom.
at this.
Just
Look at this.
church dad.
Oh, it's a church dad.
Oh, I was hoping for a big one.
Well, I didn't want
Yeah,
to
I've also-
reveal
Yeah,
names.
don't reveal. We won't reveal other
I didn't want to
names.
reveal the
Okay.
names for
I'm gonna
reasons that will
keep
become clear.
Yeah, I'm going to keep that up.
Listen out, listeners, to this one because I think it'll be.
I will, if anyone loses it, I will point to who is who. But
Please, I beg of you.
Okay.
for the purposes of
I think
this,
I'm only 2, so I think I'm.
I think
okay.
everyone is only 2, except
Stu's
here.
12.
Yeah.
I am that, and I am that, and I'm that. I've got 3.
yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
but one of them, 2 of them actually are very short.
All right.
One of them is quite.
Is this our last one, or is
No, this is our penultimate one.
Because then there's the.
Oh
other
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And if there was, if it was sort of, the last one focusing on Brandy, but this one focuses on
Mm.
Kenny,
Exactly.
and then the last one on Theo. So,
Okay.
Perfect.
so we will start because we actually start this scene with a character, not with the narrator. So Tom, you are the first one
Straight
to
in.
play
Take it
it.
away.
I'm just gonna
with,
blow my
um,
nose. Hang on. Wait. I cried too much, Tom's. Okay.
All the character voices except
Is that
for
my favourite shirt? You just.
They can see. They can
Oh,
see.
they can see.
all the character voices except for yours and mine towards the end can kind of be whatever you want them to be, other than just
Right.
consistent.
Oh my gosh.
You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Oh, consistency is not what I like.
yeah.
I panicked halfway through
Oh,
the
yeah,
Barnaby and
yeah.
Hedgehog one because I forgot what I made the analyst sound like in the first bit. I was like, oh no, I should have paid more attention to what I was
So,
saying.
are you saying that acting's quite hard there, Tom?
No, I'm saying yeah, for
Seems quite
non-actors, yeah, absolutely.
So this scene takes place in the far future, approximately 100 odd years away.
100
From-
years into the
Maybe even a bit
future.
longer, 100
Ooh.
120 or
Oh
so.
my gosh,
It's
okay.
quite far in the future. But this is entitled The Groovy Sanctuary.
Groovy Sanctuary. Okay.
And there is a bit of improv in this as well.
Uh-oh.
So-
Oh, what? No, I was promised no improv today.
No, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Here we
Okay.
go.
Yep.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Groovy Sanctuary, home for poker powereds and all that love them. I am Professor Olive Mullet, the newly installed headmistress of this prestigious institution, the first poker-powered academy in Formia, and I say, still the one to beat.
Jez heard a snort of derision from a bespectacled man in church robes behind them.
Beat? More like beats me why anyone would come here.
He muttered to his daughter, who caught Jez's eye with an apologetic grin. Her pollywag clumsily bumped into Drez's dragalge, Alex, who batted it away impatiently.
My Vulpix, Liber, and I are so excited to show you around the Groovy Sanctuary, so named after the great war hero, General Phillips, whose family still run the Wonder Guard Sanctuary we share our grounds with. Now, if you'll all follow Liber, she'll lead the way.
Come along, Jez.
Their mother's piplup ushered them along as the small crowd filed through the large rustic doors, emblazoned with Kenny Mullet's immortal rallying cry to those suffering in the aftermath of the nightmare. In the face of such devastation, it is not how we respond that matters. It's how we rebuild. And how he'd rebuilt. The most famous, controversial, and fascinating building in Formia. A school for poker powereds opened by Kenny Mullet after the nightmare. To learn, practice, live, and thrive. Kids swapped rumors of it. Urban myths of portals to other worlds and powers beyond human comprehension. Jez had only ever taken a passing interest until very recently, where they had unearthed poker powers of their own. Their mother had been thrilled.
We haven't had a poker powered in the family since me great uncle Schism.
As a poker powered, Jez's mum had advocated for them her whole life, fought for their rights after the nightmare, marched with them throughout Formia, cried when Alma and Junction's vindictive propaganda orchestrated a Team Helsing comeback,
Oh, boo.
Ooh.
cried even harder when they were gone for good. Jez watched her now as she chatted to the other parents excited at this open day, thinking this was probably a bigger deal for her than for them. She stopped outside one particularly plush room and gasped.
Oh. Is this where the families learn? Is this where I become a
Hip-clap! Yes, this is where we advise loved ones of poker powers on how they can help. It is as crucial here as the training for poker powers themselves. And even though the Groovy Sanctuary has always been run by us mullets, we always listen to other families. In fact, Nana Dora always used to say it was Gertie Fisk who ran the course, not her.
A tall woman in a business suit piped up.
Wait, we're supposed to stay here too? I can't, because my gullet was taken out in surgery last night.
Oh.
I need my gullet
Oh no, we all need a gullet.
for my art gallery.
In my family, we always say, what's a mullet without a gullet? So I don't know how you coped. But you don't have to, Mrs. Crandon.
Oh,
You're fine.
good. I can't imagine missing it.
But our doors are always welcome to you. If your child calls this place home, you can too, anytime.
And what exactly will my son be doing here?
Great question. Follow me. I'll show you to our training facilities.
Olive led them around the complex, showing them the vast ability arena with its multiple biomes, capable of transforming from sand to sea to swamp at the flick of a switch.
An idea established by the great Professor Honey, whose role as school advisor is now held by her grandson, Collins.
Then on to the Conduit Center, where Professor Buckthorn had arranged a special presentation displaying how he and his APOM would help them find their conduit.
I was mentored by the 3 formative conduit teachers in Formia. Blarb, Farb, and of course, Kenny Mullet himself. So I know how to find the emotional connection between you and your conduit, and if I can't, I've got Champ here to help me out.
APOM!
The rest of the day ran smoothly. Up next was the accommodation, built and maintained by basketball-loving reformed prisoners. There were leisure facilities, gardens, greenhouses, a Pokemon center, and battling courts. The snobbish, robed father, who was much more impressed with the history tower, where students learned how poker powers came to be and their troubled, misunderstood past. Jez overheard him boring his daughter about it.
Fun fact, Beth, it is an exact replica of the History Tower in the Church Conclave. A gift to celebrate the union between the church and the sanctuary that still exists today. To be honest, this place could do with a few more of them. It's clearly gone downhill since Kenny left.
Jez read a plaque of previous history teachers. Luann Eichinger, Barry Bolcutt, Eliza Fisk, and now Carrie Trevino.
Curious, isn't it?
Said the voice inside Jez's head.
All these teachers were once considered terrorists, whether poker-powered or Team Helsing. Kenny was always good at second chances, at turning enemies into friends.
Our penultimate stop is here, at the counselling rooms. Being poker-powered is not easy, so Kenny and one of his oldest friends, Andros, set this department up to ensure they would always be there for their students, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Professor Olive paused for a moment, and Jez noticed her face darken. For reasons they couldn't yet understand, Jez felt compelled to speak.
This is where it happens, isn't it? Where you can get rid of your poker powers.
The mood of the crowd shifted. All eyes lingered on Jez. Alex bristled protectively.
Yes, Jez, it is. Despite our best efforts, some of our students never come to terms with their abilities. Some have requested to remove them altogether. Kenny always respected people's choices. He believed in that more than anything.
He learned the hard way, mind.
How does it happen?
Honestly, I don't know. It hasn't happened for almost 40 years, and Kenny always dealt with it personally. Now that he's gone, I don't know if we can offer it anymore.
I guess that might be up to you, eh, Jess?
And speaking of Kenny, this is where our tour concludes. Kenny's old study, preserved exactly how he left it. Please feel free to look around and explore the premises. I'm right here if anyone has any questions.
Kenny's office was impossibly large. Jez had seen a picture of it in the Hedgerald Herald 3 months ago, when the news of Kenny's disappearance broke. He had accommodated the room for his Pokemon. Through an open window, where a Decidueye had once nested, Kenny could see a giant paintbrush poking out of a great lake. There was a fire. Oh, yes, very true. Through an open window, where a Decidueye had once nested, Jez could see a giant paintbrush poking out of a great lake. There was a fireplace big enough for a salazzle, galvantula webs in one corner, and honchcrow feathers in another. Throughout the room lay spoons of all sizes, and propped up against a bookshelf was a huge, ornate throne. Alex slinked into it and stretched.
Fit the last Pokemon a lot better.
You recognize this room?
Of course. I spent most of the last century in this very room.
Were you there when he decorated?
Kenny always said he never knew what looked good, so his style was basically just what he liked.
So he liked flutes, cameras, beanbags, plants, and...
What the heck is this?
The daughter of the church acolyte and her pollywag had joined Jez in the office. She was staring at the wall where Kenny had framed a tatty, yellowed bike voucher.
No idea. Must have been pretty significant for him to frame it.
What a strange man. He had a Gyarados, right? Guess that explains the rug.
Tell her that's not a rug. It's a yoga mat.
I don't think I'm going to tell her that.
I'm Ginny, by the way. And this is Crispy.
Hi, Ginny. I'm Jez, and that's Alex.
So, what do you think of the
Hey,
school?
stepping on my line, much, Stragouts.
I'm sorry. I'll continue on, but yeah, what do you think of the school? Pretty impressive, huh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be coming here. You?
Not sure. My dad's not so keen. He prefers Reggie Rockin' Academy. Why are you laughing?
Didn't think this character had many lines, did you, Tom?
I did not. And we continue on.
Is the Reggie Rocking Academy the one Rodri and Tallulah Eichinger set up?
Yep, it's not. That was a long paragraph. It's not funded like this one, so we'd have to pay. For some reason, I would prefer that. I don't really get it, but then us Falutins have always been weird with money. If you don't mind me asking, what's your Pokemon? Like your Poke Power?
It's a Pokemon with a name that's now a slur, so I just don't say it.
That one.
Yeah, that one.
Wow, yikes.
Yeah,
Oh,
wow. So it's complicated. Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh,
Yeah.
you can tell me.
I want to hear it. Say the slur. Say the slur, Jez.
Mine's an Aurorus. Watch.
As Jez watched her pick up a nearby spoon and cover it in ice, he listened to the voice inside his head.
It's okay, Jez. You can trust her. Tell her everything. She comes from good stock.
Okay, it's not a slur. Mine's just a bit unusual. It's a Cresselia.
Cresselia! Whoa, that's a cool one. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I bet
It's all a bit Baby Reindeer, isn't it?
they're mucking rare.
Yeah, very. In fact, there's only ever one before me.
Jez gestured around the room.
No way. Kenny, was your other Cresselia Poke-powered?
Kind of. Kenny was the same Cresselia Poke-powered.
What do you mean?
Well, Kenny's Cresselia chose me. You see, I haven't always had Poke powers. In fact, it's only been the last few months. One day, I woke up different. I don't know why yet, but apparently one day it will all become clear. I know now it's that I carry the Cresselia that was inside Kenny Mullet.
My Slowking. So, hang on. If you've got Kenny's Pokemon, do you know what happened to him? Where he went?
Afraid not, I don't.
But I do. I can show you, Jez. I can't show her or anyone else. But I'll trust you. Kenny taught me the importance of trusting humans, so I'll trust you to tell as much of Kenny's story as you think necessary.
The world around Jez temporarily melted away. And thankfully, so did the other character in that scene.
Thank
Oh,
God.
bye.
Bye. I melt.
As the Cresselia inside them told the story of Kenny Mullet's final moments.
From the moment I told him I'd found you, my next vessel, he was a man possessed. See, I'd kept Kenny alive for an unnaturally long time. I wanted to show him the world he'd fought for, where poker-powereds and non-poker-powereds coexisted in harmony. But it took a long time. He'd buried everyone else he'd ever loved, and I could tell how much it pained him. Losing Dora was the straw that broke the Camerupt's back. I didn't want to leave him either. I didn't want to leave him. Ever. But I knew I had to. I had a mission, I still do, to ensure Formia's dreams endure through its nightmares. And Kenny could no longer help me with that mission. It was too cruel of me, too selfish. So I started looking for my next conduit. Took me many years, till there was someone worthy of him. Many years to plan how he'd go. After finishing the succession plan for the Groovy Sanctuary, he bequeathed most of his Pokemon to Brandy's great-grandkids. Though their battling days were long gone, he said he'd only entrust their retirement to true Pokemon champions. What he said to them, I don't know, but King Thrush, Hoops, Fleek, Fedora, and Mustache knew they'd never see him again. Then we travelled back in time together. To Pirinoil train station, almost a century ago. We boarded the Orient Express, headed straight for the train cart. It's amazing how easy it is to open a bell jar when you've already done it. He saw a spoon atop a tome and picked it up.
You owe me 5 per diem points, Brandy. Theo wasn't making it up after all. You can pay me soon. It's going to be so good to hear you two bicker again.
He transferred Swirly onto the tome and gave instructions.
You must try to beat me, Swirly. Really try.
Spiritomb.
Hey, now. Don't be afraid. You came from inside my mind palace. A part of me will always be with you.
I saw that man share a piece of his soul with that Pokemon. How he did that was a mystery, even to me. Even after all this time, he still found ways to surprise me. Then we went back even further in time. To a dark night overlooking Mullet Farm. We climbed up to an open window and, for a time, watched a much younger Kenny Mullet sleep. When a note manifested on his bedside table, Kenny smiled and turned to me.
It's time, Cresselia. You can go now.
I can't. You'll be stuck here. You won't be able to go back.
Who said I'm going back? That world doesn't need me anymore. I'd like to end it here, where it all began. Right at the start of my amazing adventure.
Okay, Kenny. You've earned that much. I left him. He looked different, older, lighter, calmer. A Kenny Mullet I never knew. I started to drift away from him, back to this time, to find you, Jess. But before I went, I saw him send out one last Pokemon. He held her tight.
I'm going now, Bowtie. I'm not coming back.
This is joy?
This is the end for me.
Hold for plane.
Hold for plane.
Is that a plane?
That's a Decidueye.
That's Margot. She's back. It's smart.
This is the end for me. But not for you. You will carry on and fly till you've caught your dreams. Know that that boy in there, this old man here, we couldn't have done any of this without you. He's about to go on the adventure of his life. And you'll be with him every step of the way, putting one foot in front of the other. Goodbye, Bowtie. I'm so grateful you helped me get stronger. My strength, my conduit, and my best friend.
She knew. She didn't even have to argue with him. Simply nestled into his neck one last time, spread her wings, and disappeared over Rotuno Forest. I saw him watch her until he disappeared. The empathetic man from Comover Town, who helped to heal Formia long after he saved it. Before I came back to this time, I took one last look back. Where's that? Sorry. Thank you. All that was left of Kenny Mullet was a muddy green bow tie. And there we go.
And that ends Kenny Mullet.
Sends Kenny Mullet. Did the listeners hear their name?
I don't know.
I suspect
I
some of
don't
them might have
know.
clocked it.
Okay.
Julie, I can only apologise, but you know what? I tried. It was thrown at me last minute.
It was. For
I
some
didn't
reason, I'd given David,
Oh.
Des, and Ginny, and I was like, oh no, can't do that.
I'm very glad you did that, and you didn't have to hear my Scottish accent. Way worse for everyone.
I was meant to be Dutch, but okay.
Oh. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Has it gone down well?
Olive said, "Wait, what? I'm crying." Jeremby. Oh my
Classic.
God.
Yeah.
The northern accent. Jeremby's mum. This is perfect. Oh,
Thank your lucky stars it wasn't
Yeah.
me doing the northern accent.
Jeremby says this is such a beautiful tribute to the listeners.
Oh,
Well,
that's nice.
you guys
It's
deserve
nice.
it.
Yeah.
You all
right.
deserve it.
We've only got one more scene left.
Oh,
everyone.
and my
God,
Mac has
guys.
just activated low battery, so it feels correct.
So come on,
Yeah.
we've got
Let's
to
get
go.
it done.
Okay, let's
Let's
go.
get it done.
Go.
Okay.
So go down to page.
I don't think there are any characters. in
Yeah,
this
it's
one.
I think it's
just
just a monologue,
It's
isn't
just a
it?
David one.
I'll take it, I
So
guess.
David reads it, and the rest of us
I
just
think
chill.
I think David should read the final
36.
36. I want to
Yes.
read along though. I do want to read along.
This one is also set way further in the future than
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Tom, have you
How
got
many-
have you got that last fart stored in the chamber? Because the last sound we make on Critical Ditto
I'll
should
store it
be
up.
from your anus.
I'll
Maybe it should be
store-
all of us together harmonising our
Collectively.
flatulence.
Okay.
Right, so here we go then. The
Okay.
last scene of the monologue. David, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
This is just entitled The Church.
Hello, my name is Lucian Delacroix Lebon the 18th. I am submitting this as my video viva of my church doctorate. As you know, or I hope you know, considering you're here, my subject matter is on the church as it stood 2,000 years ago. We are lucky that in all its iterations, the Church of Slaslow, or Church of Sloking, as some call it, has kept thorough documentation of so many of its day-to-day movements. Which is odd, of course, because its major history has been shrouded in darkness for much of its tenure in Formia. There was endless bureaucracy I could find for a great swathe of the Church's formative centuries, but it was actually at the start of my research that you really began to see what I described as its long-term memory begin to match its short-term. It was thanks to a particularly notable Mr. N that several contradictory paths of church mythologizing were turned into church fact, and to understand why the church became a place with an organized, democratized sense of self and history, though one laden with crises and fragmentation like any journey to selfhood, one has to understand the role of the anomaly. Up until this point, the church had been run by what can only be described as a benevolent dictator, an entity known as the O, who had stood as its singular and solitary leader. This leader is described alternately in some accounts as an unending Byzantine messiah, others as a toga kiss, others as a kind of hybrid of the two. But whoever this entity was, their reign was ended by the anomaly, the most devout and yet doubtful acolyte the church had come to know, and a squad of both outsiders and devout church members. They became the church's second ever O and changed the fundamental structure of the church's top. Instead of an ostracized and cruel leader who passed out erratic thoughts to the four compass points, Theodosia, the name of the new O, formed a council of 13 to rule as their advisors and, in many ways, antagonists who would interrogate their policies to make them robust and inclusive. This was clumsy in its early days due to wider national conflict and due to internal tensions within the church. Those who disliked change versus advocates for it, zealots and evangelists, they all butted heads, especially as the church sought to be less like its former leader, a toxapex in a perpetual baneful bunker, and more like its new head, a Hitmontop using wide guard to protect its fellow team members. Crucial in those early days was the wide range of opinions represented on the church council. The compass points returned in a diminished role and were able to bridge the old and the new. Mr. E was able to maintain scientific innovation and education. Mrs. W works with Juliet to make sure the church's clandestine interest in warfare could be changed into something that could benefit a nation in peacetime. And Mr. N and Mrs. S began to re-establish the recording of the church's history with a consideration for its rebels, revisionism, and vying factors. The church also began to rebuild formerly demolished infrastructure like the Surfloat Tower, while also beginning wider expansion of its civic functions as a replacement for some parts of the privatized network once provided by the Pokemon League. Much of these were run by Ainsley and Ableforth, along with members of the Paladins. The council was also originally composed partially of outsiders, many of whom slowly left as other factors within the church required greater representation. The former Special Defenders retreated while some others felt drawn to find the church a part of their life. Although briefly finding huge success in broader horticulture, Squash Mallet found herself increasingly disillusioned with the outside world and became head gardener of the Conclave in her twilight years and a passionate council member. One of the most divisive figures of the initial council was Adri Fomonsk, who was often vilified within the church by other parties due to their previous ties to Team Nautilus and Team Mystic, two terrorist cells who had sought the tomes and the King's Rock in different ways and for different means. Even after their marriage to the O themselves, Adri was seen as a free radical with potential to do more harm than good. This could have cowed many, but turned Adri into an activist desperate for change. They swung big and missed many times, but became involved in providing education and resource across much of Formia, while making sure that nowhere the church arrived was allowed to feel like evangelists and colonizers. While Adri has become less of a patron saint of any pursuit compared to their contemporaries, their touch is to be found over every part of the religion's evolution in these formative years, including, I would argue, the policies of Theodosia themselves. But little is said of another major party in the church of this time, Theodosia's Medicham. Born from the early church's belief in forced schisming of poker powers from the human who carried them, it is said that Medicham became as close to a human as it is possible for a Pokemon to be, a partner to Theo in every sense. When anthropomorphized Pokemon were found to be living upon a meteor buried under Formia, those that chose to leave their home were offered asylum in the church as part of a new poker acolyte squad led by Medicham, who helped create a chapel of meteor rock for those who needed it. These Pokemon became vital parts of the church's infrastructure and the start of a whole new phase of church evolution. But perhaps the hardest thing to consolidate about this time, harder than the internal tensions and the conflicting origins of the faith itself, is how the church never became a superpower. There were those who thought it could be, a super network so strong that it could have held its grip to the windpipe of the world. It could have spread across every country, every continent, wormed its way into seats of power, prevailing over anyone who believed in strength or smarts, sacrifice or suffering, solitude or solidarity. But instead, a really remarkable thing happened. At the age of 70, Theodosia passed away and named a successor. But this successor was given a simple mission which would be overseen by Adri and Medicham in their final years. The church had found a vital role in the infrastructure of every Formian town, and now it was to open up its conclave as a truly open-source library of knowledge, bequeath the rights of every building to local councils, and would remain so in perpetuity as long as they were never run for profit. Where once the church thrived by offering exclusive access to knowledge, resource, and power, it reformed itself into a servant to the world, a network of libraries and soup kitchens, community centers and battle academies, all with a singular goal of the betterment of humans and Pokemon. In the ensuing presentation, I will be showing how, through their journeys outside the church as an excommunicated doubter, it was Theodosia's ability to leave what they cared most for that taught them this lesson, and how the final recorded words of Adri Fomonsk might just be the greatest teaching Theodosia ever left the world. For when someone asked the new O why this had happened, and history does not document if this was incredulity or awe that inspired this question, it was Adri who responded, that the only truly useful thing about power, they said, is to give it away.
Press save, please.
Yes,
Okay,
God.
Please.
Save
Oh.
it. Save before we lose
Save
it.
it before we lose it.
Wow.
Right, we're stopping the recording there,
We're
Beautiful.
saving it.
and we're saving it.
Done.
Good read,
Yeah, that's-
David. Oh, it's
Thus
lovely.
ends
What
stories.
cracks me up about that is that in 2,000 years, you're still having to submit via video. And you're like, oh, in 2,000 years in the future, we're old school in the church. You've still got to use video.
Well, for them, video 2,000 years is probably,
gonna
they've
say,
just discovered
like-
it.
Yeah.
for the churches,
They're
yeah.
like, wow.
They hadn't discovered lighting by the time.
Wow. There's
I have a charger if you need
over
one.
here.
Oh, guys.
That's it.
That is it. Would you plug in, Tom? See if it'll...
Oh, it's not gonna stretch that far, I don't think. There's one up. Can you see in the bookcase? Just unplug one of the. Don't know if you can.
While Stu's doing that, we'll get the old live back.
Right. Well, I was going to say. No, that's no stretch, is it? Well, just gather around quick then before we lose power.
Quick,
We'll say
gather
goodbye
around.
to everyone on the live
Oh, they're
stream.
married spouses. I love that in my heart. Someone's got to write a Fadri wedding fic.
Oh. Okay. I'm just assuming the mics will pick us all up. I'm sure they will.
Well, yours and mine will. If I
Yeah.
take mine into the middle.
Okay.
Tom's just coming.
Right. There we go.
This is us.
Hope you enjoyed our attempt at a live stream.
Yeah.
It was very exciting, wasn't it? I can't believe how many people have sat through
So much time.
almost 2.5 hours. No, because we had the Insta before that, didn't we? So, you know, a lot of reading, unedited. But we've loved it. And we've loved doing this whole podcast.
Yeah.
We will. That will obviously go out as probably 3 episodes.
I think that will be three
Three
episodes.
episodes probably on the same day.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're still going to do a reflect. We answered probably quite a few reflect questions in
Yeah.
those, but if you have some more, stick on the Discord, email us, tweet us.
Yeah, we
blah,
will.
blah, blah.
We'll do reflect. I guess that will be a separate thing, different time, in a more traditional way. But yeah, thank you so much. Why have you gone all far away?
It's like it's a boy. It's like it's a
What do you think?
band picture or something.
Perspective. Oh, that's creepy.
Layers.
This backlit Tom Dale is just odd.
David. I'm whispering in your ear. Look,
Oh,
we're
I
doing
see.
visual
Oh,
trickery. I see.
it's a visual thing.
Disgusting. Right. The laptop's going to cut us off any minute now anyway. So
We're signing out. We love
signing
you
out.
lots. Thank
Love
you
you
for
guys.
everything.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Keep waving.
No, I
Tom.
can't find the mouse. There
Just
we
keep.
go.
Tom's still waving. There we go.
Looks so small. That optical illusion really works.
No, that's Tom Dale's actual size.
Finally, truly revealed on the live stream.
Bye. There we go.